face of the earth. Then everybody dies of something else before they have a chance to die of this disease, and I've got a perfect record.
There you go. And that's kind of the problem is that you're asking people who can only fail, right? You can only fail with your plan, whatever your plan might be, in setting up this system. Because, and you know, like all the deaths, right? Like Kamala Harris said about Trump that he was responsible for 200,000 deaths.
Right.
She and Biden
and
today,
they're up to 500,000 now, so she must be responsible for 300,000.
I'm not sure when she's going to start taking responsibility for deaths in this country.
I think we should give it to her. If she's going to hand it out, she should take it back.
And indeed, it's a good question. On what day does Joe Biden and therefore Vice President Harris, on what day do they become responsible for the deaths in the United States? And which deaths do they become responsible for? If a gang member shoots another gang member in some urban place in the United States, are they responsible for that?
Never.
Or
Only if the gang member who gets shot has tested positive for COVID, because then he's going to be written up as a COVID death.
Right. I mean, is Trump responsible for everybody ate too many hamburgers and died of obesity?
Everyone who dies during Biden's administration, it will be Trump's fault because he didn't act soon enough.
No, I think we should blame Biden for Biden's death. We blame Trump for his.
No, but I'm just saying that's what they're going to say. Yep. They're going to blame Trump because if Trump had only acted the way Joe Biden would have acted, then everything would have been solved.
That's the really great thing
about... It's hard to say how Joe Biden would have acted, because when Trump said he was going to cut off flights from China, Biden called him a racist, and then Biden got upset that he didn't cut off flights from China. Now Biden's got a plan not to let people from travel to from certain countries, so I guess he's a racist now.
Oh, he's definitely a racist.
Well, don't forget,
he is a racist, and he's got a weird thing about his leg hair too.
Yes,
I don't get that.
Biden, immediately when Biden becomes president, the CDC changes the definition for what a case of COVID-19 is.
Yeah,
so cases are falling dramatically right now.
Oh, sure. If you turn down the gain on the testing,
that's what they did.
You're gonna have fewer things. What I don't understand is, do they not know that this is transparent? Do they? I mean, there are some that are like diehard Democrats who are are true believers that, you know, everything that Trump does is bad because Trump does it. And if Biden comes along and does exactly the same things, it'll be good.
That's right.
Because it's Biden doing it.
Well, but there are some diehards.
Crackdowns.
But
outside of the media, there aren't that many of those people. They just happen to all work for TV stations for some reason.
I'm sorry, you're mistaken on this one, Rich. I mean, you're giving far too much credit to the voting public. More people voted in this election than have ever voted in an election before, which means the numbers of what we call low information voters skyrocketed. If you asked a low information voter why they chose not to vote for Donald Trump, or why they chose to vote for Biden, their answer would be unsatisfying, right? And so I mean, those people are not going to go back and check their own work. Okay, they're not going to be like, oh, I wonder if I voted correctly for the right reasons. They did something patriotic, in many cases, something they've never done before in their lives. They stopped racism in its tracks. Because they stopped Orange Hitler, or whatever this ridiculous nonsense is.
Well, now they've got a guy who literally believes that blacks and Hispanics from both the inner city and the rural areas, so all of them, cannot find their way out of a paper bag on the internet. They don't know how to go to a website.
How can you get in a paper bag on the internet?
It's an expression.
Okay.
He said basically that they don't know how to use the internet. He said that.
Yeah, I know he said it. Yeah. And but
well, this is a man who's too senile not to molest children on camera. I mean, you never know what he's going to say. He should actually be really entertaining.
Yeah, I'd like to see how he does on the internet.
If you're going to write a check to a particular ethnicity throughout, the last several decades, there haven't been a lot of calls from that ethnicity calling the people who are willing to write those checks or send money that way racists. Right? Like, so long as you're willing to segregate people by race, and by doing that, give more money to the people of that particular race, it's unlikely that people who have a microphone will call you a racist.
Well, the fly in that ointment is mostly Biden has been spending money on minorities by throwing them in prison. He wrote Clinton's crime bill. So, not all spending is good spending, even from the point of view of the recipient.
Agreed.
I would have been much happier if, they'd given somebody a tax refund instead of throwing me in jail.
Interestingly, people in jail are turning down the vaccine. Even though they live in tight quarters, they're turning down the vaccine because they don't trust.
They're giving them a choice?
In many cases, yeah.
Wow.
They don't trust the government. What a surprise. Yeah. People in prison don't trust the government.
Well, I've heard that a lot of the people in the military aren't taking it either.
Right. Well, they live in the government.
Third of the military.
That's what I heard, yeah.
Both of those groups live literally in government housing. Why in the world would they trust them? They see it every day. They know how incompetent these boobs are.
603-283-6160. We'll tell you more about the old lady kicked out of the hospital for holding her husband's hand on the way here, and you can share your thoughts with us. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Divi's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divi's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to diviproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from diviproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. diviproject.org. D-I-V-I project.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live. You're invited if you want to join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. We're talking about yet another horror story of people just trying to show appreciation, show affection, show love to their family members who might be in a horrible location like a nursing home. You know, just try to make somebody's life a little bit better. Try to help them remember the connections that they had if they're experiencing things like dementia or Alzheimer's. That's what they tried to do to a gentleman who is in a long-term care home in New Brunswick. According to cbc.ca, we're going to continue with that story coming up here in a moment. And also want to make sure you know that AnyPay 2.0 is here and crypto payments are now faster than ever. If you're using Edge Wallet, Handcash, Bitcoin.com's wallet, or Dash Wallet, your experience should be pretty smooth. But some wallets just aren't ready for this impressive new technology. They do need to hear from you. These other wallets that need an upgrade, they need to hear from their users that that's something you actually want. So if you're a Koinomi user, Exodus, RelayX, or Bread Wallet user, there's instructions over at anypayinc.com/upgrade that will help you connect with the programmers of your favorite wallet so you can tell them, you know, that you like their wallet, but that it should be able to make payments. And that's one thing that I think would make a big difference. And if you want to learn about that, go to anypayinc.com. That's anypayinc.com/upgrade. With you in the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Mark.
So we're talking about a lady that tried to go visit her husband in a long-term care home. He was put in
this was a hospital.
Thank you. Yes, that's right. Well, he was in a long-term care home, but
he had to go to the hospital, and then he's trying to get back.
His condition deteriorated quickly when visits were suspended early on in the pandemic. He was then transferred to the Moncton Hospital in the month of July. While the province was in the yellow phase of its pandemic recovery plan.
They're still kind of yellow. They're scared to death up there.
No doubt. And for much of the fall, Cravaton's 80-year-old mother and other family members were able to visit the hospital every day. She describes being able to see her dad as heart-lifting and said her parents would hold hands for hours. We could listen to music with him and just be really close to him, she said. Her father was moved to the 5th floor of the hospital after Christmas, and the family was surprised to find out rules for visitors had changed, even though the region remained in the so-called yellow phase. Quote, all of a sudden, we couldn't hold his hand. We had to sit in a chair with an X marked on the floor that was 6 feet away.
Gotta be kidding.
And we were kind of like, wow, you know, this is really different. Cravaton said her mother, Lonnie, was escorted out of the hospital by security after a nurse caught her reaching out to hold her husband's hand shortly after the move to the 5th floor.
What are they afraid of? He's going to die? He's dying anyway.
I guess the theory would be that someone could infect him and then he would infect other people that were in the hospital or something like that. That'd be my guess.
Possible. I mean, they don't have American governors to, you know, force their nursing homes to take COVID patients. Right. But God, it's I just don't understand why.
It's so
sick.
Mean,
if I lived the way they wanted me to live, I would have no desire to stay alive.
I know.
So why bother?
I would also think that people who are visiting a elderly man in the hospital are on a regular basis are probably taking a great deal of cautionary steps in their own life because they don't want to
make sure to not infect him with something. Yeah.
And so the reward for those cautionary steps ought to be the ability to, touch your loved one.
Yeah.
The I mean, how many people in America?
I don't think you should even have to ask for permission. I really don't. I really don't think that's an appropriate award. It's a basic human right.
Yeah, it's very. I mean, they're in a difficult position because in the government's taken over healthcare in Canada, so his healthcare is free, but it's the only healthcare available. Basically.
Even if we used to have lots of people come across from Windsor to Michigan trying to get health care and pay cash because they couldn't get it in Canada.
But it was
free when they got it.
The stories about people who live in Canada, New Brunswick specifically, and so, I mean, they're trying to navigate this difficulty, which is, you're taking this small group primate and you're throwing them in this giant pre-planned system as though everything's going to go well, and oh, sorry, you can't touch your loved one. And their other options are what exactly? Taking back their loved one and caring for him at the home. It's very difficult to take care of somebody who has dementia. I know I have a friend who's taking care of his dad right now, and he's doing it for the whopping sum of his Social Security check and his pension.
Wow!
So it's really awful, and it's a tough situation. Basically, he gets out 3 times a week for jiu-jitsu.
She said most of the nurses in that unit were fantastic and very understanding, but there were a couple that were very into just following the rules, she said. And that's one of the things that this, crackdown pandemic situation has really brought out in people. It's really brought out the little Nazis, the ones
the nurse ratchet,
the ones who never really had. I mean, but nurses at least have some control. They've always had some control.
Have you seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest? That was Nurse Ratchet.
Yes,
the ones that aspire to be homeowners association board members when in their retirement.
Right. What I'm saying about the nurses, those nurses have always had some level of control over people's lives. Not so much the clerk at the convenience store, not so much the person who's standing behind the counter of wherever it is that you're going to go shopping. Now all of a sudden those people who might have always idolized the police or always wanted to be in a role where they get to tell somebody what to do, now they got it, buddy, and they are ready to wield that power because they got the government backing them up.
My favorite
They're going to be so disappointed when I walk in.
I was down in Florida where, people aren't entirely compliant on masks down in Florida. And we were going through the grocery checkout line in Publix. For those in the South, I'm sure you're very familiar. And a young lady, I'm going to guess in her mid-20s, perhaps on up to 30, somewhere in that vicinity, was particularly vigilant about her space. Yes, her employee,
cashier.
People out. And she was like strangely talking to us about we're the last ones in line for here and make sure nobody else gets in and all that. And I'm like, don't worry, I got you. And of course, somebody else got in line and I didn't notice them. And she's like, "Ma!" Like the terrible thing has happened. See, the light's not on. It's not on. You can't stand there. You're out. And then the lady who was in front of me, hands her money over, and she puts her hand past the plexiglass. She didn't slide it through the little hole in the plexiglass down at the bottom where you're supposed to, as though it's bulletproof glass or something. Yeah. She handed it around. And the lady said, the cashier said, "This is my space. Don't put your hands in my space. This is my space here." And, sort of indicated where the space was and what was hers. And it was very odd to watch. And the lady said, okay. And that was it. It was, whatever.
I probably wouldn't trouble myself to respond to that either. I don't know. Maybe I would, because I can be a grumpy bastard. But
Florida's full of elderly people who have nothing better to do than complain to the manager, and I'm just surprised that person was able to get away with whatever they were able to get away with for presumably some time.
603-283-6160 is our number. Have you been in a situation like this where you've been prevented from actually contacting a loved one? This is pretty sick stuff, and I'm sure this is not an uncommon situation out there. 603-283-6160. It's just this one happened to make the news, and you can join us here on Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
A local man treats his girlfriend to a sumptuous 20-second massage, and an area desk doesn't mind if people sit on it like a chair every once in a while. This is The Onion Week in Review. Following months of anticipation and global fanfare, the royal baby was finally born this week. Sources close to the royal family say the newborn prince spent his first days crawling around Buckingham Palace, eating his first meal, and even speaking his first words. The Onion has obtained this exclusive audio clip.
Idem grevare vestra. Idem grevare vestra. Ave. Ave. Ave Antichristi. Ave Antichristi.
In other news, a man's annual 6-sentence conversation with his cousin goes smoothly, a generous improv troupe performs for free, and a pool owner has a bathing suit that touched his penis you can borrow.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and our number, if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. How much more sick can the disconnection between human beings get? We're talking about a 80-year-old woman who was escorted out of a hospital in Canada because she wanted to hold hands with, specifically, her husband, who is elderly as well, and to the point where he's not really able to take care of himself, and he was transferred to the hospital after last year, was already in a special care home, but then his condition got worse quickly after visits were suspended at the special care home. So they moved him to the hospital because he's worse off. And at least in the hospital, they were able to visit him again. And initially, for some number of months, were able to actually interact and touch and hug. And then some probably bureaucrat decided at some point in December to lock things down.
No more hand-holding.
Yep. And they put an X on the floor where they sat a seat. And then you can sit in that seat, and your loved one will be wheeled into the room and sat 6 feet away from you. According to the story here, we'll continue it here.
See, I don't know. I'm thinking more and more that we just need not to live around people like that. You know, the cowards and the non-cowards need to separate.
I agree.
And the cowardly people need to pick a place and go there and guard the borders very jealously and just leave the rest of us the hell alone.
The thing is,
that would be really nice. Yeah. But the control freaks will not be happy controlling control freaks. They must control.
No, they can control the cowards.
They will not be happy.
Oh, yeah,
they're only happy when they're controlling people who do not wish to be controlled.
You think so?
How else? It's not control if people want to do what you want them to do.
Run that by me again.
Well, you could just come up with random things for them to do.
I have to deal with. I've had to deal with regularly my town zoning and planning boards here in New Hampshire, and I have literally watched these people over and over again deal with some weeping person who simply wants to open a business, or add some addition on their house for a loved one, or a whole variety of things. And they just say no.
Those aren't people who don't want to be controlled.
Those are control freaks, right?
No. But you were saying they want to control the people who don't want to be controlled.
They sit there and they're content, if not happy. I don't know whether they're happy or not. They do not smile mercilessly and rub their hands together as they do it. But one must presume. I could not sit there and tell somebody who's crying about opening a business, a sandwich shop, and serving their fellow neighbors. Sorry, you just can't do that. They go through $15,000 worth of studies for these people who then say no again after all the hoops have been jumped through. I could not tell that person no. And I could not tell. I could not sit there while they cried.
In that role anyway.
That's because I'm not an a-hole. Okay,
right.
These people are a-holes, and a-holes are not happy unless they can make people's lives miserable. That's the point I'm trying to make.
So you're saying they're doing this out of sadism?
They are sadists. They're sadists.
Well,
fine.
They can be sadistic to each other.
They will not be happy.
Sadists do. Well, I don't care if they're happy. Making them happy is not my concern. Making me happy is my concern.
That's what I'm telling you.
I will not be happy as long as these
they will not go quietly. Rich.
Monsters are in my hair.
But
they don't have to go quietly. They can make as much money as they want. I came into this world screaming like a banshee and covered in somebody else's blood, and I don't mind going out the same way.
Mark, the thing that you said though, which I disagree with, is that the control freaks want to control the people who don't want to be controlled.
Yes.
And honestly, I don't think you're right about that. What you're looking at in the case of the people who are begging and applying, these are people who believe in the system. Okay? These are people who want to be obedient. They're going in and they're applying and they're begging for something. If they didn't want to be controlled, they'd just open the sandwich shop.
They will.
That's what they would do.
No, they wouldn't. There's no way to do that.
That's
Ian.
what they would do.
It's not.
There's ways to do that.
Yeah,
it's not a peaceable.
You throw the door open and you put the sign out and you let people know that you're open. That's what you do if you don't want to be controlled.
Then
you
the
don't beg for
freaks
permission and you
send
don't cry.
The cops.
I understand that. Okay. But here's an example for you of how the control freaks do not want to control those who don't want to be controlled. I've got video footage to prove it, where I went in with Bonnie. We went down to the city of Keene. They'd sent a $60 collections notice. They'd sent a quote-unquote debt to a collections company, and the collections company sent a notice to the Shire Free Church saying, you owe the city of Keene $60. And I thought no, that's not true. It was supposedly based on a parking ticket that was unpaid. I'm like, if I ever got a parking ticket, I'd have challenged it.
Yeah, you're taking a trial immediately.
Right. And so I'm thinking, okay, well, something went wrong somewhere. Somebody didn't press a button to cancel a thing when I went to challenge the ticket. Either that or somebody took the ticket off my car and I didn't know, or the car I was driving.
Possibility.
In this case, the church's car. So went in. and got this on video. The lady admits that they don't want to deal with us. They don't want to take us to court. They don't want to deal with fighting us. So they'd rather avoid it. And she was apologetic. She's like, I'll take care of it. Took care of it. Boom. Done deal. That $60 quote-unquote debt is gone. So there probably are some control freaks who really do get off on controlling those who don't wish to be controlled, but I think they just love to tell people what to do. It doesn't matter who they're telling what to do, and they do love compliance. They love it when people listen to them and do what they want, and the obedient do what they want.
So I think there's a level of non-compliance where it stops being fun for them.
For the freaks?
And I think we're past that. Officer Short got called out to arrest Capuzzo's ex-wife because she was trying to get into a homeless shelter and she was failing, and they called the police on her. And there was an issue where the person running the homeless shelter kicked Capuzzo's ex-wife's dog, and the other woman was like, well, I'll tell you what, you don't press charges against my wife, and I won't press charges against you because this is a service animal and they're federally protected. There continued to be some debate about it, and the cop was just like, you should take that deal because I will arrest you for kicking this dog. and Alicia was still around the corner, and her wife was like, well, if you do end up arresting me, I'm gonna go get nobody. And and Short was like, yeah, that's trouble you don't want, lady. You don't want to deal with this guy.
Right. So I would agree that if you are sufficiently irascible, and by all means, the two of you are, that yes, the sadists want weaker victims.
And this is exactly
But I don't think it works in every system. Like there's instances where it may work, and I would think that it probably doesn't work even regularly.
It works the more of us there are. And the more of us there are who are, as you described, irascible, the more of us who refuse to obey, the more of us who are not the cowards that come together, and this comes back to what you were talking about, where these people need to separate. The people who love being told what to do, they want to double and triple mask themselves, single mask, whatever. They just feel so obedient. They feel like they're helping. They need to move to the same place, like Massachusetts or New York or some other statist hellhole. And then the people that love liberty need to get together in the same place. But the problem is some of the people who love liberty also apparently love to be told what to do by doctors. So there's another sort of schism going on within the liberty movement.
Well, I mean, you can care about liberty and be scared of anything, including your own shadow, if you want to. I want to do what doctors say. However, I want my doctors to reveal to me why they say things.
Well, there's difference of opinions when it comes to these doctors.
There absolutely are, and this is one of the things that I sort of wonder. Like, what exactly is the mask for? Because no one really will tell me. Like, what's it for? Is it just to get the spit when the little bits of spittle that fly out of my mouth?
That's what they say.
Well, that's one of the things they say when they say it. But most of the time, they're just like, wear the mask. It helps. Don't you want to help? You don't look like a helper if you're not wearing a mask.
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can join us here on Free Talk Live.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue,
Besides,
Washington.
we just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means, stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. The number here is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Mark.
Of course, you can bring up whatever is on your mind. I do want to say thank you to Paza, who is a Free Talk Live Silver amplifier. Paza helping us with the AMP program, which stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It is a way for you to help Free Talk Live get on more radio stations around the country, and that is a good plan, and it only costs you $5 a month, and you get some cool perks, you get some benefits for doing that, so thank you to Paza. You can join, as he has done, over at amp.freetalklive.com. That's amp.freetalklive.com. Just a couple more points here from this story out of Canada with the elderly man in a hospital in Moncton, where his wife, who is 80 years old, she was kicked out, escorted out by security because she wanted to hold hands with her husband, which she'd been allowed to do previously, but then somebody somewhere changed a rule. And so the little Nazis in the hospital decided that they were going to enforce this rule on this lady.
Canada. Oh, Canada.
This could happen to. This could happen.
Canada's getting evil. They used to be so cheerful up there.
Well, remember it was the UK, I believe, where there was the video earlier in 2020 of the funeral home, or was that Australia? Anyway, some British speaking place. There was a funeral home where an old woman was sitting 6 feet away from what appeared to be like her son or something like that. Her husband had died. No, her husband had died, and her sons were sitting, 6 feet away from her in this funeral home, and it's surveillance footage that you would be seeing of this. And so one of them and then the other one moves their chairs over towards her because she's obviously upset.
She's aggrieved.
Yeah, I mean, this is a tough time, and so they wanted to comfort their mother, and then some goon from the security squad or whatever at the funeral home comes over and tells them they have to move away from their own mother in this funeral home. And so it's just the same level of crap here. Now it's in Canada. This lady's father was moved to the 5th floor of the hospital, and then all of a sudden the rules changed. All of a sudden we couldn't hold his hand, they said. We had to sit in a chair with an X marked on the floor that was 6 feet away. They said that
I'm surprised they wouldn't even offer the opportunity to wear rubber gloves and hold hands. I'm not saying that I support that. I'm just surprised that
I don't think it was about the touching. It was about getting close.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
I think we've gotten too civilized. I mean, there was a time when Americans were basically barbarians, and if you did that to somebody, they'd bitch smack you. And, it kept people from doing stupid things like that nearly as much. I think we need to bitch smack people more.
They've been married for 60 years. It's very hard for my mother not to hold his hand, not to go up close to him, to touch him, especially since that's our only form of communication. So if you're just tuning in, this guy cannot speak at this point, and he's
got dementia.
Yeah, he's pretty messed up. When the nurse asked her mother to return to her chair 2 meters away, she did, but Cravatin said 2 security guards were still called and escorted her out of the hospital. Quote, she's crying her eyes out because this is really embarrassing for her, and she feels like she's done something wrong. She's now a criminal, is how she feels. She said a hospital employee who screens visitors saw what was happening and handed her mother a card suggesting she contact the patient advocate. One of the security guards apologized and told her mother, quote, I'm just doing my job. I don't
That's what they said at Nuremberg, too. That's what they did. That's what the Nazis said at Nuremberg. And I'm so sick of people in power using this particular excuse and it being accepted by people.
Well, it happens if you don't hang people at Nuremberg once in a while. You got to hang them by the neck until dead once in a while.
I don't know what else to say.
It hasn't stopped anything. I mean, these cops say this stuff all the time. This is hospital security using the same line here. And he said that he was sorry, but he's doing his job.
I just wonder to myself, especially in a place like Canada, if a hospital security guard said, I was unwilling to escort out an 80-year-old woman who is holding her already dying husband's hand. Yeah. What do you want to do about it? This is the sort of place, I'm just imagining that it's hard to fire people. I don't know about, Canada seems more of a sort of statist place to me in many ways. It is higher on the freedom charts than the United States, but
that's for economic freedom.
Economic freedom. It is. Cato and Heritage Foundation say so.
But we're not talking about economic freedom here. We're talking about social.
I mean, you couldn't fire a cop for that. If a cop said, well, I just decided I was using my discretion, decided not to escort her out. I can assure you the cop would not be fired.
That's right.
So would the security guard be fired? I tend to think not.
Well, so even if he would, who cares? Have some balls.
Yeah, go get another job.
Go find a job. Go find a job where you don't have to do that sort of thing.
Right. If you get blown up, if that story gets blown up in the news, because if a security guard were fired for not taking an 80-year-old woman away from her elderly husband, that could be the news story. Instead
of GoFundMe, you'll probably make as much as you make in a year.
That's what I'm saying. If he were to get publicized for what he did, which would be doing the right thing in that circumstance, he'd have no shortage of job offers or GoFundMes or whatever.
I'm not sure. So think about this for a second. The sort of it's the things that happen that the GoFundMe likes, not the things that don't happen.
Plus, GoFundMe is also pretty status, so they probably take you down.
The lady who had been going every single day to be able to see her husband continued to go every single day to see her husband. Nothing really markedly changed if the security guard did the right thing. However,
I'm saying if you were fired for doing the right thing.
That would be something changing.
Yeah. That's what the news would be.
Yeah, probably.
Instead of the news being 80-year-old woman separated from her husband, the news would be security guard fired because he wouldn't separate the 80-year-old woman from the husband. You better believe people are going to get behind that guy.
Yeah.
In that situation.
Yeah, I'd send him $50.
There you go. 603-283-6160 is the number here. So they said, oh, you should talk to the patient advocate. That's what they tell her on the way out the doors. Oh, we know this is hard, but call the patient advocate. Well, according to the story here, people kept telling her, quote, you're not the only one going through this situation, as though that's supposed to help.
Well, it does help in that those are possible allies. Those are people that you can join up with.
Yeah, but you don't know who they are.
Find out.
How do you do that?
I look for crying people coming out the door of the hospital. When people say you're not the only one going through this, say, oh, really? Who else do you know that has had similar situations? I'd like to reach out to those people.
A spokesperson for Horizon Health did not answer specific questions from CBC about the case, including the day the lady was escorted out. Quote, essentially, there are no visitors allowed during the orange phase, with few exceptions. The senior communications advisor, Chris
It's the Orange Man. That's what it is. Orange Man bad.
She said, the Minister of Health, Dorothy Shepard, said, it's a difficult situation for many families. Quote, we have all received many pleas to allow visitation, and we in no way want to bear this hardship on families, but the fact is that the risk is extremely high to open up visitation.
Do they really know what the risk is? Because I don't think they do. I don't think there's any documentation, any studies.
Look, there's a color here, sir. It's orange.
Right. We got somebody whose butt is on the line if they allow freedom, so they didn't allow freedom. What a surprise.
These will be conversations that will be ongoing. They will be assessed on an ongoing basis, and if changes can be made, we'll be the first to jump at it, but it's about managing the risk to our most vulnerable.
Who's the most vulnerable here? I mean, this guy's dying.
The old guy
right?
is going to die anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Don't worry. They'll assess this on an ongoing basis, and as that's ongoing, he and other men and women in this
are ongoing to their
yeah.
ultimate destiny.
Yeah, they're gonna die. Cravatin is hopeful her father will be transferred to a nursing home soon, and her mother will be able to visit him again. In the meantime, she worries like people like her dad are being falling through the cracks. She says there's an exception made for palliative patients, which there should be, so I just think that maybe there needs to be a look at other possible exceptions as well. Sad story.
Of course, he could go into hospice if he wanted to, I guess. That's palliative care. Care only is what they call hospice care.
Right. He doesn't want to go into hospice because he doesn't want anything.
Right.
He's unable to communicate that. So, maybe the family does need to look at hospice as a possibility. But, and the thing is that hospice, you have to sort of be declared that. And this is one of the problems with handing over medical care to the government entirely is they decide. They're going to decide who's deserving of hospice and who needs that care.
That's right.
And who doesn't. So they're going to maybe move him to a nursing home, and maybe they'll get to talk to him, maybe they won't.
If you want to join us here, the number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160.
The king decides how the serfs are treated. The serfs don't decide how the serfs are treated.
That's why you got to decapitate those kings sometimes. It helps.
There's more coming up here. We've got time for you. If you want to join us, hour number 2 is on the way. You can take control of the airwaves here. This is Free Talk Live.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it! You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is a Fox News alert, marking a grim milestone. I'm Rich Dennison. As the country passes 500,000 deaths from coronavirus, President Biden tonight, in an address to the nation, paying tribute to those who've died.
This nation will smile again. This nation will know sunny days again. This nation will know joy again. And as we do, we'll remember each person we've lost, the lives they lived, the loved ones they left behind.
The president today ordering flags be flown at half-staff at all federal properties for the next 5 days to honor those who've died. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki today said it was hopeful that President Biden could travel to Texas as soon as this week to show his support after a deadly winter storm that caused widespread blackouts. Psaki said a major concern is that the visit not interfere with ongoing recovery efforts. President Biden's pick for Attorney General facing questions from a Senate committee today.
Merrick Garland is stressing his independence in his confirmation hearing with the Senate Judiciary Committee.
I would not have taken this job if I thought that politics would have any influence over prosecutions and investigations.
Garland also told Republican senators he expects Special Counsel John Durham to finish his investigation into the origins of the Justice Department's Russia probe.
Sitting here today, I have no reason to think that that was not the correct decision.
Garland says he has not had any discussions about the DOJ investigation into President Biden's son, Hunter. Hunter Biden disclosed his taxes are being investigated.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill. State lawmakers gave final approval today to a bill that will end capital punishment in Virginia, a state that has executed more people in its history than any other. That legislation now heads to Democratic Governor Ralph Northam, who has said he will sign it into law, making Virginia the 23rd state to stop executions. America is listening to Fox News.
If you're using anything other than Indeed for your hiring, you are wasting your time. Hire great people faster with Indeed. Only pay for results and get back time in your schedule. Indeed.com helps you find quality candidates instantly with Indeed Instant Match. Indeed searches through the millions of resumes in their database to help show you great candidates instantly. Get started right now with a free $75 credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Fox. Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through March 31st. Terms and conditions apply.
The Supreme Court today ruling against former President Trump in his fight to keep his financial information from prosecutors in New York City.
The U.S. Supreme Court has cleared the way for a New York City prosecutor to subpoena 8 years of former President Trump's financial records, ending a lengthy court battle. This was the last hurdle for Manhattan DA Cyrus Vance to obtain the records, as his office investigates alleged tax and bank fraud. There's no word on exactly when Vance will issue a subpoena, but he had indicated he would move quickly if the High Court rejected Trump's appeal. The documents will likely remain shielded from public view while the investigation goes on. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
Boeing has recommended that airlines ground all 777 jets with the type of engine that blew apart after takeoff from Denver this weekend, and most carriers that fly those planes said they would temporarily pull them from service. President Biden approving disaster declarations for 77 Texas counties affected by winter weather.
Governor Greg Abbott urging President Biden to declare all of Texas's 254 counties disasters, with boil water orders for 15 million people amid disruptions in some 1,300 public water systems.
What happened this week to our fellow Texans is absolutely unacceptable and can never be replicated again.
The governor blaming the Electric Reliability Council of Texas. At least 2 lawsuits have already been filed against ERCOT. State lawmakers in Texas say they're also working to address skyrocketing energy bills during outages for customers.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
I'm Brooke Alvarez, and while I may not acknowledge your presence in person, and if you try to approach me, you'll most certainly be hit in the face with the stinging nettles I carry on me at all times, I like to take a moment every now and again to answer your questions so that you can get to know the real me. Here's a tweet from @Kirkamunga saying, what is the most important thing to remember when talking to people who may not be as informed as you? I love this question, Kirkamunga. There are 3 simple steps to dealing with uninformed people. First, when you realize that someone doesn't know something, repeat very loudly in their face the thing they don't know. For example, you don't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is? Second, look to everyone around you and let them know that this person is completely ignorant. Hey everyone, Sebastian doesn't know who the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe is. Third, you call up the Prime Minister of Zimbabwe and tell him that Sebastian doesn't know who he is, and then laugh really loudly until the ignorant person just leaves in utter shame. If you'd like to ask me a question, just tweet it to my handle @BrookeAlvarez or post it to my Facebook wall.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and the phones are open. If you want to take control of the airwaves, you can do that at 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. In the studio here tonight, you've got Ian.
Nobody.
And Mark.
All right, so you can, of course, bring up anything that you want. Doesn't have to be COVID-related. In fact, I prefer it if it weren't.
Please, no.
There's a lot of other things that we can talk about. And I know last night, Mark, you guys got into the ZA, which is Spanish for...
Let me try it. This is not actually true. I don't have this memorized or anything, but it's basically zona economica development education, right? Like that kind of thing. So
and
basically,
means...
it's an educational development zone, but it's probably defined in English best as a special autonomous zone. So we know what a special economic zone is, right?
I don't know.
You don't. Okay, a special economic zone is a zone where the economic, tax, and regulatory rules of a given country change in a given space. Okay? So, for instance, a very great example is Shenzhen, which is outside of Hong Kong. China saw how successful Hong Kong was, which is sort of a special economic zone. And so they created their own special economic zone, Shenzhen, which is just outside, and they had a great deal of success in that particular area.
I've seen some amazing videos from
pictures.
There. Yeah.
So beautiful, all those lights. And around the world, they've seen this and they've copied it.
Didn't you say there were like 4,000 of these things?
Yeah, that number's gone up. It's 5,200.
Okay.
There's 5,200 special economic zones.
Well, shouldn't we have freedom then?
Couldn't we?
Let's turn New Hampshire into a special economic zone. That sounds like a good idea.
I think you have insightfully seen the difference. A special economic zone only is beneficial when it has significantly freer and it's nearby a place where people want to trade. So you need population and significantly more freedom to attract the business that would then go through, so you can skim whatever it is off in whatever way, by offering services and this sort of thing, and everybody prospers. So if every place was as free as Shenzhen or Hong Kong or say Singapore, which is economically free but not say socially free, then you wouldn't see the benefit to a particular place. It would just sort of be a worldwide benefit. And that benefit would be much more difficult to see for the average person because it would take longer and these sorts of things. Anyway, we can see that a special economic zone isn't particularly special anymore since there's 5,200.
5,200, okay.
So what do? Well, you can, it's hard to find, say, in the United States. It's unlikely to find a real special economic zone in the United States.
But they're talking about doing one in Nevada, which you guys discussed last night. We'd actually talked about that, I think, a week prior here on Free Talk Live.
And that is essentially a shot at making the new version of a company store.
Yes.
Peonism, as it was known, back in the day. I'm interested in watching that.
It's a special pleading being done for one company. It doesn't sound like.
No, it's not that. It is one company that is spearheading it, but they are targeting tech companies, I guess, specifically, so it won't be open to just anyone. Some would argue that the situation was designed specially for this one company, that they're the only company that could actually make it happen, but I don't know if that's the case.
Google or Facebook could absolutely open up a campus there, but you need $250 million in the bank.
Which they have.
To show. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
We don't.
Right.
Right? So freedom is not available to us in Nevada. I would say
I don't even think it's going to be available to them either, but
I would say
the devil's going to be in the details.
Indian reservations are probably already have more freedom and can deal with providing the average person more freedom than any zone that the government of Nevada is going to be able to create. So keep an eye on Indian reservations would be my first thought on that when it comes to the United States. Then when it comes to freedom in the United States, so it's unlikely that they're going to make a real special economic zone in the United States where a lot of population and a lot of money is. So we have to kind of look at what else can you do? Well, you can amp up the amount of freedom.
Have we tried to do that here? Because I think, I think that would actually be a very interesting way to attack the problem, and I think it is something we should try to do in New Hampshire.
If we is the government, then yes, they should do it.
Yeah.
But
no, we are not the government.
No, we are not. And the government has yet to ask to ring me up and say, "Hey, Mark, how should we handle these problems of regulation and taxation that we have?" And it's unlikely that they will.
Well, right. So, I mean, why would the government want to do this in the United States?
Yeah, there's no reason. They have no motive.
Right. Normally, the motive is economic
development,
growth, right?
Right. And they already are the most economically developed country. And New Hampshire has the highest median income, or at least it was so it was said at one point. I've seen a chart, right? New Hampshire came out number one of median income of all Western countries. So it's beating out Luxembourg and places like that. It was staggering to see New Hampshire at the top of this chart.
I don't know that we're too rich, though. You can't be too rich or too thin.
Agreed. However, people lose motivation when they're sufficiently rich. Everything's going fine.
Well,
say the bureaucrats.
Luckily, many of us here are not sufficiently rich.
Agreed. But the bureaucrats don't care about you.
It's true. No, they don't. They don't care about me. But luckily, we do have a lot of people moving in who do care about this sort of thing. It would be interesting to see if there was a way to make something happen.
Personally, I have abandoned the idea that the Free State Project is going to be successful. I think that there are far too many reasons why it's not going to be. But I'm happy to address.
It's already been successful.
Agreed. I would say that it is doomed. and it has had some successes, whatever that might be. But New Hampshire's fell to number 2 to Florida a couple of years ago on the Cato's charts. How is that successful? Florida, seriously, Florida is more successful. They're busy out down there smelling bath salts.
Maybe they're more successful at paying off the people who make charts.
Or maybe
I've lived in Florida,
but did you own property in Florida?
I did own property in Florida.
Owning property is what made Florida beat New Hampshire, and I would agree that you have more control over your property where my mother owns in Florida than I do, where I have some a cabin here in New Hampshire.
Yeah, but
it depends on where you are in New Hampshire.
It sure does.
Yeah, you picked a town with a bunch of Nazis that are running the town, whereas if you're in a place like Grafton, there's no zoning whatsoever. You can build whatever the hell you want to build, and you're making you make really unfair comparisons between these two places. First, you claim, Florida beat New Hampshire in this one chart. Well, on a couple different charts, they're neck and neck, basically. Yeah. And further, the Free State Project has just barely started. You act like everything should be done by now, and the reality is the move just finished. The official 5-year move window for the Free State Project literally just closed in the month of February in 2021. So,
which doesn't mean it's time to stop and rest on our laurels. It means it's time to open another window.
Right. There's more people moving here. There's thousands more pledged that are going to move here to New Hampshire. This thing's just getting started, and we've already had dozens of people get elected to the state house here before the move had even finished.
I think that's awesome.
You act like it's supposed to be over, and it's
Ian,
just getting started.
I said I have abandoned hope.
I know
didn't tell
you have.
you should have abandoned hope.
No, but you're telling everyone else listening that they should leave the United States.
Hold on. Then let me give my other reasons. All right. So I've said that New Hampshire is already losing ground to Florida, and you don't like it, but it's true, right?
No,
Florida,
it's not.
Even if Florida does become more free, that doesn't actually harm us.
No, it's great. But I mean,
I lived in Florida for 26 years. It is not a free place. You can have more
neither is
freedom
New
in New
Hampshire,
Hampshire,
apparently, if it is about as free as Florida.
According to a study.
Okay. That study was sufficient for you.
According to another study, New Hampshire is more free than Florida.
That study was sufficient for you when New Hampshire was number 1.
I'm telling you, we're just getting started.
I'm trying to make one point.
You can make it when we can continue here.
The second thing I would say is you are doomed if you're going to go to another place and tell them how to live.
603-283-6160. This is the live free or die state, and the people here do not want to be told how to live, and most of them don't want to tell other people how to live either. In fact, we get along just fine with a lot of the natives here in New Hampshire. There's more on the way. If you want to join us here, 603-283-6160. This is Free Talk Live.
I'll tell you.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and the number here if you want to join us, 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. If we get a chance, what is it, Janet Yellen, I think is her name. She's the new Treasury Secretary, at least the nominee for Treasury Secretary. She is on the attack against Bitcoin. We can tell you about that. Of course, your calls and thoughts are welcome. But right now we are recapping, rehashing, letting nobody into this conversation that seems to come up inevitably whenever it is you return from your travels around the world. Mark, you've been going to various different places and pitching this idea of the ZEDE, the Special Economic Zone.
ZEDE is specifically specific to Honduras. So they have a constitutional law and legislation surrounding the creation of a special autonomous zone called a ZEDE in Honduras. So a special autonomous zone is what I call these things, is a place where we can have an experiment in liberty and start building. And I don't want to disparage the Free State Project.
Well, you just did.
Well, I don't. No, I didn't. I said,
and it's
I
fine
don't
to disparage
believe.
the Free State Project, but to disparage the migration of liberty-minded people, whatever you want to call that, I think is really sad.
Well, I don't know what you mean when you say sad. What I said, I said is I don't believe. Like, that's the quote. I have abandoned my belief that moving a bunch of libertarians to New Hampshire, whatever that number may be, and we do not know what that number is because it's thousands. A bunch of lies.
It's thousands.
We don't need to know.
We
what
did
the
not
number
move.
is.
We did not move and retain thousands of libertarians in New Hampshire.
I would say we have.
Oh, we almost certainly did.
I doubt that.
Because
we don't have any evidence. There's no evidence surrounding numbers.
Who moved and told the Free State Project that they moved.
Yep.
And then there's a bunch of people
left.
some people left.
Yep.
And there's a bunch of people who moved and never told the Free State Project
That's
they moved.
true too.
And never signed up for anything. In fact, a good chunk of our co-hosts are people like that. Arya, for instance, Captain Kickass, neither of those two people signed up for the Free State Project at any point. And the fact
I would love to see some numbers, but I don't know where to get them.
You just don't think.
See, I don't know how to do this. Can I do this without calling your baby ugly? Is it possible?
My baby. It's not my baby.
Is it possible? Is it possible not
I'm not
to
a member
argue
of the
about
Free
it?
State. I'm not a member of the Free State Project. I resigned from it 5 years ago.
Okay, so I just don't believe it anymore.
Fine. You don't believe. What you're saying is you don't believe that a group of people with a similar mindset can come into a place and make that place different? Make that place
yes,
better?
They can make it different.
Okay.
I do not believe they can retain that, especially with the lack of a plan. There is no plan.
Has Vermont
the plan
become
is
more or less liberal?
More
over time?
liberal.
Has
how many people moved there?
I don't know.
I know. That's because nobody's done the research.
Somebody did. Jason Sorens did some research a long time ago on migrations and how, like, the Mormons moved into Utah. They made a huge impact on that state.
They had a lot of babies. How many babies are the libertarians having? How many babies do you have?
It's none of my business.
I'm just saying.
It doesn't need to be entirely transplanted people either. I mean, when I was operating a business here, I had a number of people that I was interacting with. Those people were mostly over time became libertarian. The thing is, there's been a lot of work to be done in New Hampshire, and sadly the biggest failure that I think we've had is the failure to put capital and labor together and produce stuff, which is very odd when you consider that we're all capitalists, and that's what capitalism is. It's putting capital and labor in the same place.
Well, we're not necessarily
producing stuff.
Entrepreneurism is what you're hoping for, and there's nothing in the Free State Project or the great any particular group of people that are moving here, their credo that says we're entrepreneurs.
No, that's true.
And I don't particularly want to have employees. It wouldn't be very long in dealing with employees and all their little problems that I'd be like, I want out of this. It would be, to me, a misery dealing with employees. And so I don't want that. And that's not what I moved here for.
No, that's why
I got
people
everything
hire
I moved
professional managers.
I got everything I moved here for, and I would like to point out that New Hampshire is the top of the list on places to live in the United States over and over again, if you don't consider the fact that ice falls from the sky for about 4 or 5 months out of the year. And it's a really great place to live.
That's why it's the best place to get this movement started of people migrating for a better place. But you've just given up on the whole concept of a migration.
I haven't given up on
inside the United States.
No, what I have given up on is a specific type of migration to a place where you wish to retrofit the state. Let me address Mormons and hippies for a second, because you brought them up. First off, the hippies had a philosophy that would not work. It was a philosophy that would result only in more statism.
That's what they got.
It's easy to grow statism. Okay, like it is the nature of government to grow. Now, the Mormons have a religious philosophy, and you can't really compare politics and religion because of the zeal with which religious people feel about the things they feel. So let's address libertarianism versus hippieism, or whatever that might be. Hippieism is statism of a sort. In the hopes,
not
depends
at
on which
all.
hippies.
It's the belief that the government will work. Back to the land, we'll all work together, all this stuff. Libertarianism will work.
Back to the
It's a
land
good
and
idea.
working together is not saying government is going to work.
Well,
you can definitely cooperate without having any government at all.
I think that many hippies would not have shied away from terms like socialism or egalitarianism and a variety of things that that have been demonstrated by
it depends.
libertarian authors.
There's
successful.
basically there's two schools of thought among hippies. You have the more deadhead rainbow family type hippies, and generally they're just like, yeah, we're gonna do what we're gonna do, just stay the hell out of our way. And that's the kind of hippie that I enjoy interacting with. There are other groups that are more enthusiastic about trying to get everybody on the same page. And of course, that's an absurdity. You're never going to get everybody on the same page. So
whereas libertarianism
don't try.
is very likely to work if it is implemented properly. And I believe we have had success in some level of implementation, and I think that we will have success. I think we'll have success in longevity, prosperity, and happiness. And these are things that everybody who calls themselves a human being looks forward to.
Who's we?
We human beings?
Okay, I was just wondering who you said will have success in these things.
The libertarians in New Hampshire will have success in creating a more free place.
And then you think it'll go away.
Free place will result in longevity, happiness, and prosperity. Then people who are just across the border, just driving distance, they'll say, I want to live longer, be happier, and be more successful. I shall move to New Hampshire. And they will not be in any way indoctrinated into the philosophies that brought whatever it is about, because there's no plan to do that. There's no way to do that, because
There's
the Constitution,
plenty of ways to do
the
that.
Constitution of New Hampshire will not change, because it is nearly
Actually, you can easily change the Constitution.
easily, really,
Yeah,
simply, perhaps.
Yeah, it's simple. Yeah.
Okay, and that's
They
what
did
needs
it
to be
just
done.
a few years ago.
If they change the Constitution of New Hampshire to be where a supermajority of legislators need to vote to get a given law passed and a simple majority need to vote to get it unpassed, then you guys are on the path. That's a plan. But I haven't heard any other plan that would work.
603-283-6160 is the number here. That's 603-283-6160. So you think it can succeed, but then it will fail, is what you're saying. More coming up here. This is Free Talk Live.
Email is easy, instant, and free, and that can be real embarrassing. Email lacks the eye contact and body language you get in face-to-face conversation, or the tone of voice and other nuance you hear in a telephone conversation. Email is just words, often few words. We're all smothering in spam, so we often reply in terse fashion that's easy to misunderstand. And email doesn't cost you a postage stamp, and it lacks the deliberation time it'd take to walk to the snail mail box, so it's easy to succumb to the "oh yeah" stimulus response trap. When in doubt, don't snap back at snippy messages you get. You may have mistaken the sender's intent. And unless you're sending AOL to AOL, there's no unsend. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Free Talk Live.
The result from the drug use, you cannot compare to caffeine or cigarettes. That's an immature.
Right. It's the result of the war on drugs. I can't compare.
The illegal use of drugs. Why don't we execute sellers?
Why don't we execute cigarette smokers?
Then we will no longer have to worry about people using drugs.
Well, all right, there are more than 100,000 people convicted of drugs every year. You want to execute all them too?
Okay, wow.
Yeah, look how much money we'd save. $30,000 a year times 100,000. Okay, if we took the Singapore or the Middle East model,
then we'd have a state like Singapore or the Middle East.
President, maybe he can do that.
Because Singapore and the Middle East have no drugs whatsoever in their countries, right?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live, and the phones here are open for you. If you want to join in, the number 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. We're getting into the details on what exactly Mark believes about the future of the liberty migration movement. We're going to continue that discussion here in a moment. He told me just a moment ago that he thinks it will succeed, but then it will fail unless a certain thing happens. And I want to have you recap that here in a moment, Mark. Sure. But also, I do want to invite our listeners to Bitcoin.com, because if you want to learn about cryptocurrency like Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, then you can go there and click Get Started at the top of the page at Bitcoin.com, and you'll find all kinds of information, including a series of videos that I would recommend at the very least you watch the first one, and that's like 3 minutes long. And if you got time, check through the list of videos and see which ones interest you and watch those too. And then you'll have some of the basics down about cryptocurrency, and that's an important thing, especially now with Bitcoin down a little bit in price today. Might be a buying opportunity for some folks.
Time for me to dress in sackcloth and ashes.
All the way down to, actually, it pinged as low as $45,000 for a quick moment, and is back up to around 53,000 from a high of 58, I think, yesterday or the day before. So it's definitely something you want to take a look at. If you haven't taken the time, go to Bitcoin.com and click Get Started there. If you're not new to Bitcoin, you want to learn the latest news headlines, go to news.bitcoin.com. We'll get back into it here with Nobody, Ian, and Mark in the studio. First, we go to Matthew in Connecticut. Matthew, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, before I ask my thing, Mark impression. This thing I've dedicated my entire life to is such a piece of crap.
I don't know what's going on with your phone, man, but your phone's a piece of crap because we can barely understand you. Are you on a speakerphone or something?
Is this better?
Perhaps. Go ahead. Say what you were going to say.
This thing I've dedicated my life to is a sucky piece of crap. That's the Mark impression.
Well, he hasn't dedicated his life to the New Hampshire freedom migration. He's going elsewhere. He's looking at other parts of the world, and I think that he's got a right to criticize. I mean, he's been in the midst of it. He certainly knows, he's lived here for roughly 15 years, if you don't count the winter vacations in Florida. We'll go ahead and count you all 15 there, Mark.
Thank you.
But at the same time, you haven't really been immersed in the liberty movement here in any meaningful sense in the last several years. You've been so focused on things going on outside of New Hampshire, you honestly don't know what's going on here. And that's my biggest critique of you is...
Well, I would say I know more than the average person, more than the average libertarian, in fact. As much as you, no, I do not. However, that doesn't mean that your opinion is correct because you know more. It simply means, and remember, all I've said is, I have abandoned my hopes that the Free State Project will be successful. And
but you did just say that it would succeed just a moment ago, and then you said that people would move in and ruin
some level of success. Define success, then. What does succeed look like? What is the finish line for liberty in New Hampshire?
Well, the first thing for me is it's the whole state doesn't have to be that much freer for me to be a great deal freer.
Excellent.
And that's
absolutely true.
I guess the difference is I'm willing to consider doing in New Hampshire the kind of things that you're only willing to consider doing outside.
You'll never get
New
them.
Hampshire.
I swear to God, you'll never get them. You could the religious freedom in New Hampshire is so little. You can't even open a monastery and have the kind of success that a monastery would have in another state. New Hampshire is a poor choice.
If you fight
away. That's the thing. I'm not willing to do it. I'm not going to dedicate the remainder of my life, which is 30, 40, perhaps even 50 years to fighting bureaucrats in order that I might be a little freer, when is all I have to do is leave and go elsewhere, which is what I did when I came here. Leave and go elsewhere and find more freedom wherever it is. I'm not going to continue to fight them. I just don't want to do it. And if you want to fight them, this is an excellent place to do it. Come here and wage the liberty war against the bureaucrats.
See, I think actually fighting less is a great idea.
I agree.
I would really like to. What I would like to see happen in New Hampshire is some more circling of the libertarian wagons. I'd like to see some libertarian communities grow up that are not the size of a state. And you can have a great deal of freedom in that kind of a situation. Unfortunately, we haven't had.
Let's say this:
we haven't had the people who have been willing to build that sort of thing, and hopefully,
you two are two of the people who are not willing to do it. And I'll point this out: there are two places currently in New Hampshire that are a tipping point for liberty. One of them is Croydon, and the other one is Grafton. And neither of you nor I live in any of those places. And it's because we've become chauvinistic about particular locations. We're like, I can't go there. Well,
I'm not. I would be perfectly happy to head out to Grafton. I'm actually strongly considering it.
Okay, so Grafton is at a tipping point, and there very soon, Grafton's the best example. Very soon there will be enough libertarians there active in government to see, people being all the selectmen. All of the,
Is that
people.
true? I had not heard that.
They're that close.
And the thing is, that could really be improved a great deal.
No,
if we started.
Let me tell you why.
Why?
All of the towns in New Hampshire are chartered from the state, and as soon as the libertarians get in charge of a particular place, they're going to say the first and primary problem is the schools. We've got to stop the schools, and what they'll do is they'll try to shut it down. And when they shut down the school, then the state comes in and says, we have a mandate from the Supreme Court that says that our Constitution that doesn't say that there's a mandate for public schools says that there's a mandate for public schools. And they will then destroy your charter for that city, for that town, that municipality. And then you will be back at square one to start all over again.
If you still have the population that got you that power, then nothing significant has changed if they revoke the charter.
You'll just have to pay your property taxes to the next town that they turn it into. That is an interesting question. What if you can get 1,000 people not to pay their property taxes?
Exactly.
But Ian
what if
Freeman,
you could get 1,000 people?
What if you could,
Grafton?
but you can't? Find them for me.
You can.
Ian couldn't find 5.
Well, it was early, Mark. I mean, we need more
people. You can't find them now.
Well, people are afraid.
Find 3, and I'll do it with you.
People are afraid.
I'll buy a piece of property in Keene, New Hampshire, and I will not pay property tax if you can find 3 more libertarians in Keene, New Hampshire that will not pay their property tax.
Why in Keene?
Because that's where we are.
We could go anywhere.
Keene is
fine. Find me another place. I'm telling you this: if I bought a piece of property at a town that doesn't have a town, that isn't a town, what they call a township in New Hampshire, and I bought it in the name of a church, I'd still have to pay property taxes to the county.
Matthew's still on the line here, guys. Hold on.
Unless you fought and won.
We still got Matthew on the line here. Did you have a question?
They already fought it once and
Matthew?
lost.
I was just kind of joking a little bit before, Mark. You don't have to delude yourself into believing anything you don't, obviously. Another question is, what do you think has been the Free State Project's biggest mistake thus far? Do you think it was
it's in the name.
Maybe a cold location? Or?
No, it's in the name. What they wanted, the name, state. You cannot have freedom and a state at the same time.
Okay, so it's an oxymoron. You think that's what's the failure of the Free State Project? Really?
The failure is
name
attempting to go and go into a place
that's the best
with 1.4 million people and say, I'm from outside and I'm here to fix you stupid people in the dumb way you run things.
That's not what happens. That's your attitude. You're the one with the attitude of people are stupid.
A lot of people's attitude about what Free Staters are like here. And it's fundamentally a very difficult row to hoe. It's a very steep mountain to climb.
Nothing worth doing is easy. Thank you, Matthew, for the call.
If there is something that's worth doing that is easier than what you are doing, you should abandon what you are doing and do the easier thing.
And what's that?
I haven't found an easier thing.
Apparently, you won't listen.
I've seen you run around the world looking for the easiest thing.
I'm doing my very, very
you
best.
You haven't found it.
How long do I need? Do I get as long as I've lived in New Hampshire? Because I have a long way to go on that.
Like I said, I'm
got a big head start here.
Like I said, I'm interested in seeing what you come up with, but I'm still waiting for whatever that is. 603-283-6160, and I agree with nobody. We've got a great start here. It's more coming up.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me.
Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey.
Who do you think you are?
Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me? Because you scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. We got open phones, although right now they're busy. So if you call 603-283-6160, you're not going to get through. But you can connect with us on our chat server. Over at chat.freetalklive.com is where you get the instructions on how to join and how to call in through that server. And if you do that, you'll sound almost like you're sitting here in the studio with us tonight. It's Ian.
Nobody.
And Mark.
Things are heating up here in the studio as Mark is... he seems to be of two mindsets. He thinks that the whole migration of libertarians to New Hampshire has been a failure, but on this other hand, he does say it could succeed, but then it'll fail if it succeeds.
Fatal flaws. I don't think I've used the term failure to describe the Free State Project.
I think you have, actually.
It is the most successful Move Here project to date.
When asked what the problem with it was, the biggest problem, I think, you cited the name of it as the biggest
I said that the problem is indicated in the name, in so much as the Free State Project wishes to come to a place with 1.4 million people, with presumably 20,000, although they'll never reach that number, and then say, hey, we're here to fix you. Nobody wants to hear that. Down in Florida,
most people don't even know the Free State Project exists.
Actual bumper stickers that said that were addressed to Yankees. If you don't like the way we do things down here, take I-95 north. Do you remember those bumper stickers?
We picked New Hampshire actually because we do like the way they do things here. In that we like the live free or die idea.
Right.
We like the idea of just leave us alone.
I think New Hampshire was one of perhaps
been some tactical errors. I think there's been too much concentration on getting the government to change as opposed to finding ways to mostly avoid the government. And I think that is eventually going to be a lot more successful. My hope is that as crypto continues to grow, that we're going to actually have people here who have the resources to make things happen.
Yeah, that's going to be a game changer.
That's what has not been happening.
Yeah, you're right about that.
There has not been capital.
Because a lot of the people who moved here barely had 2 pennies to rub together when they moved here. But a lot of those people got into cryptocurrency early on, and it's going to be a game changer in the next 5-10 years. Not only because those people will become wealthier because of the likely rise of the price of various cryptocurrencies, but also because they'll have put down more roots here. They'll have had kids here. They get to know their neighbors here.
More to lose.
I got to disagree with you, Mark. The people in New Hampshire that are the natives that actually love freedom tend to really appreciate the fact that
some
free staters
do.
are coming here.
A lot of them do.
Yeah,
but they haven't.
A lot of them
but those people who appreciate that haven't been successful in keeping statists out of the state.
Well, you have to understand, the statists that move here aren't as effective as an activist that moves here for liberty.
But the statists who work for the government are paid day in and day out, and hour by hour, to take as many freedoms.
Easy, okay? Those people exist everywhere, all right? So wherever it is you move, the statists are going to be in the government.
Not true. You can move someplace.
There are people in government that aren't statists in another place?
We were just talking about Honduras, which is put together...
The Hondurans aren't statists in the government?
Ian, they have put together a program that's in their constitution. What constitutional success have the libertarians in New Hampshire had?
There was a constitutional amendment recently in New Hampshire to protect privacy.
Constitutional carry.
Hallelujah. The libertarians in Honduras decided, they got together, the smart guys, right? These academic types. They said, we're going to do one thing. We're going to infiltrate the government, and we're going to institute a special autonomous zone piece of legislation.
Great.
And they did it because they had a plan. And then, presumably, this will work. It may not. And I'd love to have 15 years down the line, like we have with the Free State Project, to be able to point out what works and what doesn't work,
well, you'll let us
so that
know.
I could find out, so that I could critique that.
Yeah, let us know, and we'll keep an eye on it, Mark. But for now, this is the movement of liberty-minded people who are concentrating in one area, and it's the one that's been the most successful. And to answer the earlier caller's question, I think I'd like to answer it, and you're welcome to as well, Nobody. The biggest mistake the Free State Project made was not having the vote... Or the biggest mistake was they had the vote early. They had the vote at 5,000. So there were 10 states that were under 1.5 million population, with the exception of Rhode Island
and Hawaii. They were eliminated.
There were 10 states, and there was a vote by the first 5,000 members of the Free State Project on which state should be the destination state. Up until that vote happened, the sign-up rate was skyrocketing. There were a ton of new sign-ups, like hundreds every single week of people. There was a lot of buzz. There was a lot of excitement around it. And as soon as the vote happened, the sign-up rate fell through the pavement. It just went down big time, and it took 15 more years, basically, after that point, or 10-plus years after that point, to actually hit the 20,000 number. Had they said, we'll pick the state at 20,000 instead of 5,000, we probably would have hit 20,000 by, like, 2005 or 2004. That would have triggered the move, and then we'd have been a decade ahead of the game. I want to get his answer, though.
I do want to get his answer, but I want to address what you said, too. So let me rebut on what you've got to say. Yes, I agree that there could have been a great deal of success. However, I think it's also an indication that people weren't taking it seriously. Once they picked a place where people would actually have to move, and it wasn't all about, I want to sign up to make sure that my state gets to be the super awesome libertarian state or whatever, right? Then, as soon as a place was picked and it became real, then people dropped off because maybe they were never going to move in the first place.
Who cares?
Okay.
It would have gotten more people to move sooner. Go ahead, nobody.
Well, I would say that the biggest mistake that we've made is not recognizing that we need, in order to have people move here, there needed to be opportunities. Not everybody is drowning in money, Mark. I know you are, but you're the only one. And
I manage a fund, yes.
So if we want people and we need allies, then what we should have been doing, I think, is creating opportunities, creating ways, and not out of charity, but finding ways that we could turn a profit by creating work, and also finding ways to be less scattered about the state. Because when we're all in the same place, when we're at PorcFest, what happens? And a whole economy develops at PorcFest when we're close together, so we can trade with each other. And especially now that they're trying to shut us and people like us out of the mainstream economy, having something like a year-round PorcFest, someplace where you can go, you can make money doing something enough to survive, you can trade with other people doing this, and we are seeing
there's some market
the
days that are happening around the state in different places on a regular basis. It's not making a living level yet, but it's the start of that. I want to bring Vernon on the line here in Louisiana. You're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead, Vernon.
Vernon going once.
Vernon, I heard somebody there on the phone. Vernon?
Vernon, check.
Oh, he just dropped off the line. Let's try Dave. He's in New Hampshire.
Know what you mean, Vern.
Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com, the one man here in this conversation who's been here longer than all of us the studio. Dave, I mean, you've been here a long time. I know you were calling for a different reason, but do you want to reflect on, how things have been going? Are you still, optimistic about the future of this migration?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, I'm still pretty optimistic. It's funny. The reason that I was calling in is a reminder of why I'm optimistic. I always have something to call about, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was going to call to talk about a bill that a Free Stater has submitted in the New Hampshire House. How many libertarian movements in Texas or Wyoming or anywhere can call and say, hey, our libertarian state rep is proposing this bill, and they can call about something like that, dozens of times a year, and it's always a different bill. Right. There's that many. I think we have what is it now? 30 Free Staters in the legislature, and a full-blown mover Free Staters who signed the letter of intent. Are we counting
ones that have turned into opposing the Free State Project? I mean, I know those still exist.
Well, if they oppose the organization, then it probably doesn't matter. If they're not
They've turned full
if
status.
they're not libertarian anymore, I can think of one person who did that, and I don't count her.
Not sure if the fax machine just came on the line there. Dave, are you still with us?
Yes.
Okay, hang on if you don't mind, because Dave, you make a great point, and that is that there's always so much to talk about with liberty activism going on here. And
I talked to a guy today in Honduras who's basically started a ZA and has all the freedoms that you guys would put in
Great, let us
bills
know how
in for
it's going,
10
man.
years.
Let us know how it's
I'll
going.
bet he invested.
Once you start getting people that are, moving there and something's actually happening. There's more coming up here. Hour number 3 is on the way. This is Free Talk Live.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless free market non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Marking a grim milestone, I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Joe Biden tonight addressing the nation to commemorate the loss of just over 500,000 lives in the country from coronavirus.
That's more Americans who have died in 1 year in this pandemic than in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War combined.
The president says the nation will heal, but urges everyone to take the necessary measures to protect themselves and their families.
Stay socially distanced, to mask up, get vaccinated when it's your turn.
Earlier today, the president ordered flags at federal facilities be lowered to half staff. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki says the president is open to talks with Iran over its nuclear program.
What we're willing to do is sit at a table and have a diplomatic conversation because we are looking to prevent Iran from acquiring a nuclear weapon, and we believe diplomacy is the best way to do that.
Former President Trump withdrew the U.S. from an international agreement with Iran, which is designed to keep Tehran from obtaining nuclear weapons. Merrick Garland, President Biden's pick for Attorney General, testified before a Senate committee today, saying he'll prosecute white supremacists and others responsible for last month's deadly attack at the U.S. Capitol.
A heinous attack that sought to disrupt a cornerstone of our democracy, the peaceful transfer of power to a newly elected government.
Garland promising to oversee the Justice Department with a focus on the rule of law and without political interference. Former President Trump today criticizing the U.S. Supreme Court after justices ruled New York City prosecutors could proceed with their efforts to obtain his financial records. Trump calling the New York investigation a fishing expedition and vowing to fight on. America is listening to Fox News.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but here you go. You deserve to feel better than you do today. And you can with Headspace. They make meditation simple. Headspace is the one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research and can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. Go to headspace.com/Fox for a free 1-month trial. This is the best deal offered right now. Headspace.com/Fox.
The House could pass a massive coronavirus relief package later this week.
The House Rules Committee is taking up a $1.9 trillion package that includes $1,400 stimulus checks, expanded unemployment benefits, and aid for state and local governments. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on NBC's Meet the Press.
It's vital to the future of our city, our state, our country.
Republican Congressman Byron Donald says there's too much pork, telling Fox News.
And it's buying off members of Congress just so they can get their liberal wish list.
Congress is working to pass a bill before jobless aid starts running out for millions of Americans next month. Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a gradual easing of one of Europe's strictest lockdowns, saying children will return to class and people will be able to meet in a park in 2 weeks. Restrictions on bars, restaurants, and many personal service businesses are expected to remain in effect until late spring. One of China's top diplomats is suggesting a reset between his country and the U.S.
China's foreign minister is offering the Biden administration an olive branch. Wang Yi says China is open to talks on patching up relations. But the offer comes with steep demands. Wang says the US should lift restrictions on trade, cool relations with Taiwan, and stop accusing China of human rights abuses. The foreign minister blames the Trump administration.
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
It's now been 7 days since a group of hikers went missing in Maine's Acadia National Park, but rescue crews there are still holding out hope of finding them alive. Autistic reporter Michael Falk is on the scene there. Michael.
Hello, Brooke. My socks got wet. That cameraman gave me new socks. I am fine.
That's good, Michael, but what's the situation there?
The names of the hikers are Casey Allman, Brian Emery, Ashley Thorson. The hikers were last seen 174 hours ago. Since then, 3 very big storms have hit here. There's a 1.24% chance that all of the hikers are alive. Why are you looking for the hikers?
Well, we're still hopeful that we might be able to find them. There's been a break in the weather, so we're hoping that...
Over the past 7 days, the average high temperature has been 21 degrees Fahrenheit. Over the past 7 days, the average low temperature has been 6 degrees Fahrenheit.
Right. So we did another sweep of the park from the air, but we didn't see anything.
Without shelter, the human body can withstand temperatures this cold for a maximum of 3 hours. Is there shelter in the forest for the hikers?
Not that we know of.
They are frozen.
Well, we like Shh.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live. Phones are open as always here at 603-283-6160, although they're loaded up with calls at the moment. 603-283-6160. So if you want to get through, you should call through our Matrix chat server. You can go to chat.freetalklive.com and get the instructions on how to connect to our chat server there. You do need to follow them precisely, but if you do, it should work out for you, and you'll get in there, and then you can call us up. And you'll sound almost like you're sitting here with us tonight in the studio. It's Ian.
Nobody.
And Mark.
And we're going to go back to your phone calls. We had Dave on the line in New Hampshire. He is back with us here. Dave Ridley from RidleyReport.com. you're a longtime liberty activist. You moved here in, I think, 2003 or 2004. You're one of the earliest movers. You initially moved to Keene, New Hampshire, and you've sort of been about the state here and there, and now you're down in a few towns south of us in the town of Winchester. That's where your home base is at the moment. But you're a video activist. You go out there and you do video reports from various different places. And you'd called in tonight. You wanted to talk about a particular piece of legislation that a Free Stater, which is a libertarian activist, usually in New Hampshire, who is in the legislature. We've got like 24 of them. I think more than that now. Actually, it's a record high here in New Hampshire.
How many rated A plus, even A minus by the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance?
More than I would think a couple dozen, but I'm not sure. I don't have that number. I don't have that number in front of me.
You don't have a
but
round
actual
number?
Free Staters that are in the state legislature is over 24, I believe, right now. Dave, what was it you wanted to highlight?
So it's Leah Cushman. I think she's a Free Stater. She's in Ware and liberty-leaning Republican, who has sponsored a bill to ban, or I guess she uses the word abolish, municipal and school water fluorination.
Okay. That's
now,
cool.
this is one of those issues that's been debated for a long time, and it's not like something new that people have raised concerns about fluorination. They never seem to get anywhere. And sort of, it's a bill that, to me, it's kind of hacking at the branches. I'd rather see something. People might get a little bit excited about that, but they get really excited about a bill that says something like every law passed, after a certain date must have an expiration, 10 years after it's passed. Make all laws expire, or something like that. Or secede from the union. Something interesting, right? I would rather see bills like that, but I'm glad she's hitting on a lot of cylinders.
I agree with
here,
you, Dave, and this is one of my critiques of the political activists here in New Hampshire, is almost all of them are deathly afraid to put in principled legislation, to actually put in an end to the war on drugs, to actually put in an abolishment of, the property tax, or, whatever it is we're talking about, some sort of serious proposal, or like you said, seceding from the United States.
There have been bills to abolish the war on marijuana since I've moved to the state. They were many times put in by Democratic non-liberty activists.
No, what you're talking about is legalization of marijuana, which, that does abolish the quote-unquote war in technical terms, but it still creates a regulatory structure.
It's not as good as
libertarians would want.
So the regulations that are, say, on tomatoes versus the regulations that are, say, on liquor.
But the point is, what happens with these state reps is they become politicized, they play the political game, and their answer is always, well, I don't have the political capital to do that.
They probably don't.
Luckily, this year, Dave, if you don't mind, luckily, there's a little bit of good news, at least in the area of secession. I have it. I'm not going to say his name, but there is actually a Free Stater, a libertarian activist, who's been elected as a Republican. It's his first time in office, so he didn't put any legislation in the first run out, but he's going to go. I think he's going to do something the end of this year, which would be for the 2022 term. He is our nightcap state representative. We actually had a party that we threw in Central Square for 36 weeks in a row. Right after the so-called governor here, told people to stay home, we went out and we threw parties in Central Square. You came out to a bunch of them, nobody.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the people that came out to those parties is now a state representative. And he is so sick of this government. He is so sick of the bureaucracy and the stupidity and the ignorance of these state representatives. He doesn't care about political capital, and he's willing to actually put something principled forward. At least that's what he's saying now. Hopefully he won't change his tune by the time August comes around, but there's a good chance we may see a secession bill coming up in 2022. I don't want to get your hopes up too much, but that's what it takes. It takes somebody who doesn't care if they get reelected.
Do you think that it is moral and right to put in a bill for secession versus a bill to allow the people of the state to determine whether or not they wanted to secede?
You have to. If you're going to put in a secession bill, it has to go to the people. It's going to have to be what they call a CACR, which is a constitutional resolution.
Okay.
It has to get passed by the State House and the State Senate, presumably signed by the governor. Then it goes on to the ballot, where it has to get a supermajority of people in the state to vote for it. That's my understanding of if you were going to take a legal path to secede from the United States, that's my understanding of how it probably will be done, but I'm by no means needs an expert.
Yeah.
And my guess is that the Biden administration is going to be a great incentive to people who, if you'd asked them 5 years ago, would have said, secede, you're crazy.
Right.
I think a lot of those people are going to, especially with AOC trying to put them in camps, re-education camps, I think a lot of those people are going to be rethinking.
Yep, there's no better time to start talking about secession than right now. So, Dave, your other thoughts on this whole, migration thing? Is the Free State Project a failure or is it a success?
Well, I mean, I can't even name all of the Free Stater legislation that has passed, and become law. I can't remember it all. That was the Homeschooling Paperwork Reduction Act, 2006.
That's a great piece.
There was the...
Yep.
Pardon?
That's a great piece. Let me ask you this, Dave. If every bit of freedom that has been achieved by Free Staters since you moved here in New Hampshire, which is all of it, you're basically, one of the first, was achieved with a stroke of a pen in Honduras with their special autonomous zone legislation by the end of this year, and more, would you be willing to move immediately?
Not immediately, and I wouldn't want to live in a jungle, and I wouldn't want to live in Honduras. Milo Vangelis used to say, basically, don't trust headlines, trust history. There's a history in Honduras of the way things are there, and it's awful. It's not awful in Costa Rica; it's pretty good. But Honduras has a long and ugly history. That's what's going to weigh on Honduras more than what's going on right now.
Yeah, that's why I say to Mark, I'm interested in watching his ZA thing and curious to see how it goes. I'm definitely interested. I want to keep my mind open.
You're sure they didn't say Zapatas?
I don't know what that is.
Okay.
Shoes?
Well, it does mean shoes, but it's also a socialist political movement in Mexico.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm interested in seeing all of these things develop, but so far it hasn't really developed. So, keep us in the loop, Mark, on that as it develops. But speaking of political successes, you remember Jason Osborne?
Yes, I do.
He was a longtime sponsor on this show. In fact, what we would call an angel sponsor. He was advertising with us when he knew the thing he was advertising probably was never going to get a single response.
They did get one big one.
Okay, that's good to know.
But
he supported us because of the principles. He supported us because we are libertarians. That guy has been playing the political game in Concord and is now the speaker. Oh, no, not the speaker. He's the House Majority Leader.
So awesome
in Concord. I mean, that's an amazing success story to say that, you've got a friend of yours who was a longtime sponsor on this show who is actually in a very influential position with the Republican Party. I mean, these guys have been playing the game, and whether you like it or not, it's an ugly game. I mean, I wouldn't want to play it. I mean, it's just awful what they've had to go through, but obviously he's willing to do it, and they've gotten that level of success. That's going to lead to good things. It's not Rome wasn't built in a day, and it sure as hell isn't going to be taken down in one
So
either.
You hope the ZAs are successible. You hope that everything I'm looking into is successful and that freedom
Well, I know that everything's
increases.
not going to be successful.
Indeed. And
but maybe
I will tell you this. I hope, against all information that I have, what I've come to, I hope New Hampshire is successful. All I said was, and I want to make it clear, I have abandoned the belief.
Sure, because you don't know what's going on here. Thank you, Dave, for your call tonight. I appreciate hearing from you. 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. You can bring up whatever's on your mind. This is Free Talk Live.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by D.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You know that at some point in your life, an emergency is going to happen. You just don't know when. You could call the government, and maybe they'll help. Or they might shoot your dog. Why call potentially psychopathic strangers when you could ask your friends, family, or neighbors for help? Cell 411 makes decentralized emergency response possible, and it's free. Visit getcell411.com or download Cell 411 from your favorite app store. Getcell411.com. Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can join us here. The number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Joining you in the studio tonight, it's Ian.
And Mark.
Unfortunately, nobody had to step away for some other responsibilities. He's busy programming Cell 411, which is back. It had gone away temporarily, at least on the Android side of things, and there is now a version out that was released, I think, a week or two ago. So if you've been waiting to...
I didn't see an update come through my store. Do I have to...
check it.
Okay.
Just pull it up and take a look, because it fixed the what we would call the showstopper bug of not actually showing you notifications when somebody sends you an emergency notice, which is kind of the whole point of.
Yeah, I haven't seen a notification in a very long time.
Yeah, so you need to get the update there. Now, there's still some things that need to get fixed with it, and we're working on that. In fact, one of the next steps is to actually open source Cell 411. That is what's coming hopefully next. And as far as timetables, I don't know when that's going to be, but because it took 6 months to get to this point. But that's because nobody didn't know the program. He'd never done Android programming before, so he had a lot to learn. We got some great Indian programmers who are helping us out, the original guys that made the program, and we're moving forward. The Shire Free Church purchased Cell 411 from its creator, Virgil Vaduva, who's a great liberty activist, but had come to a point in his life where he just wasn't able to handle it anymore. So we're working on it, and we're going to make it better. And so appreciate your support on that. Go check out Cell 411. You can go to getcell411.com. You can click and download for either Android or your Apple device. So we go back to your calls and thoughts here. Vernon is on the line in Louisiana. We had you, and then we lost you. Vernon, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Thank you.
You're on the air.
So previously, a few years ago, Free Talk Live severed the relationship with the Free State Project because I think they had hit a certain number of people joining, and they wanted to continue to recruit after that point. And it was like, we're done. They have no integrity. I don't know why they are, continuing to continuing to recruit, even though we reached the number. Could you remind me of that story? And
none of what you said is accurate.
Well, I would
the relationship.
I would say that there's some veracity to what he's saying. We didn't sever relationships because of it, but I would say that the Free State Project should stop counting at 20,000. Should have stopped counting at 20,000 because, well, why would they continue counting? The whole purpose of the Free State Project was to recruit 20,000 movers, and to recruit more movers shows that they already know that 20,000 isn't going to move.
Of course, they know that.
Yeah,
only about 10% moved,
if that.
Maybe a little bit more than 10%. No, not if that. At least 10% moved. Probably.
Okay, you can say the term
10
moved,
to 15%.
but if somebody leaves, are they still a mover?
Yes, they did move.
Okay, then if they're not, but they're not here.
Yes,
they're not in
some
state.
of them are not here. And also a lot of people did move who never joined the Free State Project, and we have no idea how many of those people there are. But what you said, Vernon, was not accurate at all. We did not sever ties with the Free State Project over any kind of frustration with any failure of the Free State Project to reach whatever goals or whatever. I still support the goals of the Free State Project, and that is to migrate liberty-minded people here to New Hampshire. There was an issue in 2016 where the Free State Project wanted to sever their relationship with us, specifically because somebody named Dennis Goddard, who used to be a Free Talk Live fan, turned against us.
An amplifier.
Yep, used to be a supporter. He turned against us and created a petition to have me removed from the Free State Project events. That petition got about 100 or 200 signatures or something like that. Not really sure if all those signatures belong to people in the Free State Project.
No, it didn't get 200 signatures. It got like 40.
Well, whatever it was. I thought it was like 100 or whatever. But it could have been anybody who signed it, so we don't even know if they were actual Free Staters who signed it. So just
could have been one person who created 40 accounts.
Could have been. Just basically weeks after we received a Lifetime Achievement Award for communicating the ideas of the Free State Project.
I would say days after we received our Lifetime Achievement Award, we got kicked out of the Free State. Not kicked out, but Ian was banned from attending
both of their
the Porcupine
events
Freedom Festival
and the Liberty
as
Forum.
Was Free Talk Live, as was LRN.FM.
LRN was not banned.
No, it was not? Okay.
No. But the show was essentially banned, and so as a result of that, I did resign from the Free State Project, but I don't hold a grudge.
Do you think they removed you from the numbers?
I don't know. I don't hold a grudge, and I've never been mad about it. And since then, we've repaired relationships, and we were at the Porcupine Freedom Festival not only last year but the year prior to that as well. We broadcast from the Porcupine Freedom Festival in the year 2020, and we will likely still be there coming up here in 2021. So everything's okay. Oh, and people really hate Dennis Goddard now.
Great. Thank you.
That was it?
Thank you for clarifying that for me. I apologize about the misunderstanding. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Vernon. Thanks for the call tonight. I appreciate it. And then Dennis Goddard lost his mind this last year over the whole COVID situation and started calling people who wouldn't wear a mask manslaughterers and said that he had the right to shoot anybody who wasn't wearing a mask that came too close to him. He further threatened to photograph and or out everybody who was attending the Porcupine Freedom Day Porcupine Day event that happened a couple of weeks ago. Bonnie and I went and attended this event, and there were about 100. I counted 82 at one time, so there was a maximum of 100 people that could attend this event at a theater chain here in New Hampshire. It's one of those theater chains where you can sit down and you eat dinner while you're watching a movie. And they had multiple speakers, and I recorded video of the speakers. So if you want to see what those speeches had to say or what those speakers had to say, you can go to the Free Keene YouTube channel or the Free Keene Library channel, and all of those speeches, well, all except for one, somebody specifically did not want to be put online, but all except for one speech are up there, including Free State Project Executive Director Vince Perfetto, who I'm a big fan of, by the way. I don't know if, Mark, did you know that Vince was now the Free State Project Executive Director?
Oh, that's wonderful.
You didn't know that, did you?
I didn't, and I don't care. I mean,
I understand
again,
you don't care.
I have determined that
you're
this is
you're
not
done. I got
my
you.
way to go.
I'm just pointing out that you don't pay any attention to what actually goes on here. So
I understand.
Vince Perfetto, the guy who created the movie 101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire. Now, he didn't create the list. The list was created back in like 2003 or 2002. To try to convince people to move here. But he made an amazing movie about that list in the year 2014, and he is now the executive director of the Free State Project. And I think he's a great choice for that particular job. In fact,
he's responsible for completing the 20,000.
I used to believe that the Free State Project should shut down when it reached its goal, when it reached, when the 5-year move window happened. I thought that they should close it down. And you know what? I was convinced differently. Sitting there watching those speeches and seeing what Vince had to say about the tremendous successes that the Free State Project has had in the year 2020, its biggest year for movers, a huge year for growth of their social medias and email lists, and there's a huge level of interest right now in from liberty-minded people in moving to New Hampshire. Finally, the government has become tyrannical enough to finally motivate more liberty-minded people to come here. So I'm all in favor of the Free State Project continuing to sign people up and continuing to encourage them to move, because until you get your Z-egg going down there in Honduras, there ain't no better option. Now, maybe Saipan's going to be something too, and I'm keeping my eyes on that as well. More coming up here. This is Free Talk Live. How many movers so far, Mark?
5.
Okay.
6.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's AgristHosting.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. The number here for you is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. It's Ian and Mark here. We've been talking about Liberty migrations. Mark's got something going on down in Honduras. And also, of course, the Saipan Crypto Frontier. Their website was down recently. Mark, did you know that?
No.
I'll have to check it and see if they got it back up. But the idea of moving crypto people to the Mariana Islands, the U.S. Mariana Islands. You went down there for a couple months last year, about this time of the year, right?
Yeah, I broadcast Free Talk Live as many as twice weekly, 2 days in a row. And it was pretty darn awesome. I got to say, the reason that I chose to leave was COVID based, right? So in part, my mom is just turned 80. And so she's definitely in the danger zone, and I want to kind of keep an eye on her. And secondly, I didn't like the way the governor was acting there, and I still don't like some of their COVID restrictions that they've got going on. As I understand it, if you go right now and you're a resident, as I am, you have to spend.
You got the license to prove it.
Yeah, I got a driver's license there. And I'll register to vote, did vote, and all these things. That you must be incarcerated in a 5-star hotel that has been turned into a
prison
concentration camp with no yard time for 5 days.
24-hour lockdown.
Correct.
Wow.
For 5 days. Now, I'm curious. Now, they call it a voluntary lockdown.
That doesn't sound voluntary.
Well, you could, alternatively, you can go to jail for 14 days for their quarantine there. So you decide if that's voluntary. That's voluntary as far as the government is concerned.
I see.
Now, it's very likely unconstitutional, but, expect to be persona non grata if you decide to fight this. And that's one of the things that the state does, right? They make it so it's uncomfortable to fight them. I'm curious as to when that's going to stop. It's probably not going to stop until the federal government stops giving them money, but maybe somebody will fight it. They got a few things there that definitely could be fixed with some lawsuits or referendums, and they have in place some really great opportunities to make it a even better place as far as freedom goes. But
did you ever ask Jason Sorens from the Free State Project why he didn't consider the Mariana Islands or any other U.S. territory?
It was basically too complicated. They don't have, so in part
that was his answer. Was it too complicated?
I talked to him, and they just didn't have enough information.
Huh.
And the reason I believe that to be true, I had plenty of time to think about that conversation. The reason I believe that to be true, I attempted to pay him to include all of the territories in that.
Pay him?
Yeah. Why not? Academics get paid.
Hold on. Include the territories in what?
Jason Sorens is one of the authors of Freedom in the 50 States.
Oh, the study.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. That'd be interesting.
And I'm curious about Freedom in the 50.
Freedom in the United States.
Geopolitical designations called in part of the United States. And
how many are there? There's not 50. There's
the District of Columbia.
Right. So it's 51.
Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico.
Okay. Those are separate, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. They're Virgin. In many cases, these are very small places that we could have had far more of an effect.
Puerto Rico's pretty big.
In many cases.
Yeah. Saipan, very small.
So that's the CNMI, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, or what I like to call the U.S. Marianas in order to make the distinction. There's Guam.
Right.
And American Samoa.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm missing...
What about Federated Micronesia? Is that one of them?
It is not a territory. It is a protectorate or some other distinction that is lower.
I see.
As is like the Marshall Islands and Palau, I think, which is one of the Federated States of Micronesia. Anyway, there's these little places which don't want to put money into a military, and why should they? So they just sort of contract with the United States to do some level of protection.
So you tried to pay him to include those, and he wouldn't do it because it's too difficult to get information.
Well, he wouldn't take
statistics?
money. He wouldn't take money from somebody that he couldn't deliver on because he's a moral individual. I'm not angry.
But he's saying he can't deliver because it's too difficult to get information out of these places, right?
I'd like to defend him, if I may, in this, and let's talk about addresses in the U.S. Marianas. So the U.S. Marianas has been trying to implement street addresses since the 1980s. Now, it's on the law. The law is on the books that they have street addresses. So if you look at it as an academic, you say street addresses exist. And there are a few street addresses.
Okay.
However, the vast majority of people, they have to give directions. They have to give landmark-based directions. Imagine trying to get the fire department to come to your house, mind you.
So does GPS not work there?
They drop pins. Literally, that's how they do it. Is that if you want somebody to come to a place that you meet, you you learn to drop pins in Google, and then you text that to somebody via SMS or whatever, and that's how you get people to go to this place or that place. And sometimes you can look it up on Google Maps, but sometimes you can't. Google Maps thinks everything's delineated in kilometers there, which
you're
of course
persuasive
it's not.
on the Saipan thing because you actually spent some time there, and that's why I say when this Honduras thing is rolling, and
well, I'm going to be going to Honduras next month.
Dropping in for a week or two, I mean that's one thing. Living there for several months is a whole other thing. Now you only lived there for 2 months, I think, in Saipan last year,
right? And I've also hear the fierce amount of honesty that I have around the CNMI, the Saipan or U.S. Marianas. Let's use U.S. Marianas. I think it's the best distinction. There's it all
Saipan
basically
sounds cooler though.
Saipan sounds fun, but it's only one island.
Yeah,
and in fact, the other two islands are freer. But you won't enjoy the same amount of advantages. So, for instance, if you go to Saipan in the U.S. Marianas, you will enjoy they've got a McDonald's, they've got a Pizza Hut, they've got a Bubblegum Shrimp Company, they've got a Hard Rock Cafe, they've got, all the coffee shops that you could have, pretty much everything you enjoy.
It's a city.
Everything I enjoyed, okay? Not everything that everybody enjoys, but everything that I enjoyed.
But they don't have a Walmart.
They don't, but they do have a knockoff version of a Costco. They have a movie theater where you can go see
Is
6
it still
different.
open?
Well, hell, I don't know. I left before.
Well, that's the other thing. Is like you left, and then
I can find out any answer to any question you need. All you have to do is go to the anybody who has Telegram, search CNMI. That stands for the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands. Search CNMI, and then it'll have like crypto behind it or something like that. You can ask to join that group, and then you can chat with people who currently live there.
Yep.
I think there's
more
more than
co-hosts, Vin Armani and Alex. Alex is the founder of the project.
I said that there were 5 movers. I'm going to adjust that to a few less than, maybe 1 or 2 less than 10.
Okay.
So maybe 8 or 9 movers.
Yeah.
But I will
that you know of.
But I know
there might be more.
No. It's unlikely.
But they're not tracking like the Free State Project. There's not like a count.
When you're talking fewer than a dozen people, the chances are good that somebody's going to try to reach out. I mean, I know that. Why is his name escaping me? The guy who wrote Complete Liberty. Wes Bertrand. Thank you. Wes Bertrand is currently living in my house.
Oh, that's cool.
That's cool. So I mean,
he must be liking it because he's been there for more than half a year now.
He will make a far more cogent argument than I will for the people who are highly principled libertarians. I mean, he really is into it for a whole variety of reasons. He doesn't like the Free State Project because so many Free Staters are all about the political system.
Yeah.
You have no opportunity to become a politician by moving to the CNMI.
Because you basically have to be an islander to win an election, right?
Agreed. But
now, is there a lot of racism towards outsiders there?
No. Not overt. I mean, they don't say, get
out of here, honky.
If Howley is used, it's used in a usually used in an endearing fashion. They don't have a particular problem.
Howley means an American, right?
Howley would be a
foreigner.
Foreigner, of any sort.
I see.
And remember, most of the population is not native. Most of the population is either Filipino or Chinese and can't vote.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So,
and you did vote? You voted for governor or whatever down there?
I don't know if governor was on the list.
Okay.
But I did vote for everything else.
See, that's what I'm saying. You've got some experience there, which makes you more persuasive on that particular topic. But on the other hand, you left, so it doesn't make it look like you really want to be there.
I'd leave New Hampshire right now if Free Talk Live left.
603-283-6160. You can join us here. This is Free Talk Live.
This is the Onion Week in Review. Researchers at the University of Washington report that they have successfully trained 7-year-old chimpanzee Makoko to do all of the tasks necessary to conduct a 3-year study on primates. According to the scientists, Makoko has efficiently learned to turn in thorough analyses of behavior in chimpanzees, fill out all of the necessary paperwork to ensure compliance with the Animal Welfare Act, and even apply for supplemental grant funding from the National Institutes of Health. Sources within your office reported today that the guy on the 3rd floor with 2 computer screens on his desk is not f***ing around. Co-workers said that the man, currently working with at least 3 programs open on each screen, was absolutely tearing it up, with sources adding that watching the man run a group video chat while dragging 2 separate Google documents to his 2nd screen was like something out of f***ing Minority Report or something.
Jesus, he's just dragging things from one screen to the other like it's nothing. He's going balls to the wall over there. Christ, man, I don't think he's blinked in 3 minutes.
This is the Onion News Network.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get 1 free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Uncovering the secrets and exposing the lies. That's what the readers of freedomsphoenix.com get every day. freedomsphoenix.com, constantly providing the information, the real news about government policies, and the real relationship we all have with the coercive government, the real condition of the economy, innovations in technology, breakthroughs in energy, health, and computer science. Learn the truth well before it's admitted to in the lamestream media. The corporate media, nothing more than distributors of government propaganda, but now there's an alternative. freedomsphoenix.com. Constant news updates on the issues that affect your life in the most important ways. With liberty and property under constant attack, freedomsphoenix.com provides the understanding behind the propaganda, and it encourages the participation of its readers. Go to freedomsphoenix.com. That's freedoms with an S, phoenix.com. freedomsphoenix.com. The revolution between the ears has already happened.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Moments remain here. Enough time for you. If you want to join us, the number is 603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. Also, don't forget we have a social media site that we've launched. And Mark, you got the numbers wrong last night. You had said it was 1,000 people that have signed up.
I said almost.
215 or whatever is not almost 1,000.
Right. I thought it was. I did get the numbers wrong in so much as I was like, I said $700 or $800. I should on 100 people. I should just say almost 1,000.
So the 1,000 number. There is a 1,000 number, and that's the statuses, the number of posts that people have made. Actually 1,200 and change right now. Okay. There's over 230 people.
How many
of
those posts are from us?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I mean, we post a few times a night, so some amount. And I like it. I think it's a great platform. You go to social.freetalklive.com. You get off the big tech platforms. Don't wait for them to ban you. You know that's a possibility. There's a good chance that that's going to happen. I just had a video taken down from the Free Keene YouTube just the other night, and
it's because you're not woke.
It's because it was promoting the White Rose, which is anti-COVID crackdown, counter propaganda, basically. And they said, well, if you don't,
it should have been the rose of color.
If you don't agree with the World Health Organization and the government, then we take down your content, is what YouTube said. So, don't wait until the takedown happens to you. Start building, like what you were saying, Mark, build the other thing. Build the thing. Don't argue about the thing. Build the thing. And that's something that we agree on, is build the thing. So that's what we're doing. We're building that thing. It's a place where you can go. You don't have to be a libertarian to post there. Please, just sign up, social.freetalklive.com.
We want people to interact, and part of the interaction is disagreement. I mean, I would recommend you not use, the logical fallacies with which to argue with people, and perhaps you'll learn something, but do whatever the hell you want. It's a social media platform, and one that is far less regulated.
Indeed. In fact, there hasn't been any kind of regulation whatsoever. I mean, eventually if somebody's like spamming
if all the
Trumpsters
like crazy, went there, it would be highly successful, and they would not get banned over normal stuff.
I wouldn't be too happy, but yeah, I wouldn't ban them over being a Trump person. If Trump signed up, I wouldn't.
They'd be a hell of a lot happier than people who went to Parler.
No doubt. Check it out at social.freetalklive.com. And in real life, if you want to check out this migration of people coming to New Hampshire, now, I don't know if there's something similar in Saipan yet. I know that there was talk about it last year, but I don't know if it actually materialized due to COVID. But there is a camping festival that happens here in New Hampshire. There's actually two of them. There's the Porcupine Freedom Festival and there's Fork Fest. Fork Fest is the decentralized camping festival that happens here. Libertarians, voluntarists, anarchists, people that love the ideas of freedom, they're going to be coming to the same campground at Rogers Campground. You can get your RV site, your campsite, or your motel room, but you better get it soon. I can tell you, the tip-top site that we had last year, we don't get it this year because I waited too long. It's 4 months out, and I waited too long. So you ought to go to Rogers Campground, get in touch with them. You can go to forkfest.party to learn more about the event. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th and get to find out what it's like to be around other liberty-minded people, a large number of them, for some amount of time. It's a lot of fun.
Camping isn't really even a thing in the U.S. Marianas.
What do you mean? There's no campground?
No. Why would you do that?
I don't know. Some people like to camp.
13 miles by 4 miles or something.
Some people just like to pitch a tent and, be outside. That's why people camp.
They do camp on Pagan, which is another island out there, but you have to pay a great deal of money
to get there,
to get on a boat to travel from Saipan to Pagan. And then once you're there are simply no amenities.
Right.
There are
That's
free,
real camping.
There's free beef and free pork, though, presuming it doesn't kill you.
So, Rogers Campground, there are plenty of amenities. There's bathrooms.
No free beef and no free pork, though.
No, it's true. And there is
it's certainly not deadly free beef and deadly free pork.
So they've got bathrooms. They've got running water. They've got campfires.
They got bathrooms in Pagan, too. I do understand. As I understand it, there is one working flush toilet on Pagan.
Wow. Okay. But I don't know if there's any party going on there in the crypto frontier quite yet. But their website is back up if you want to check them out. You can go to cryptofrontier.org. I think that's an interesting project. I hope that it's successful, and I definitely want to keep an eye on that as well. Let's go to Andrew. He's calling from Tennessee. Andrew, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Yeah, at this point I've been bouncing off what I want to talk about, but I guess what I want to talk about is just where people want to go when they, want to leave places.
I got to tell you, Andrew, your phone is pretty janky. I heard the question about, where people want to go when they want to leave places. If you can spit the question out succinctly, we'll try to answer it for you. Go ahead.
If there's a question.
Uh-oh. And that might have been...
Hey, can you hear me now?
Just heard you.
Go ahead.
Spit out whatever you're going to say as quickly as you can.
Okay, so my concern was with people feeling comfortable with where they are with liberty, and my problem is I think if you really want to feel like you're a free person, at some point you're going to have to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Freedom is not based around your comfort.
I agree.
Yeah, freedom is the willingness to let that weird guy that be free. And that is not comfortable, as evidenced by a guy who has been on the air here on Free Talk Live, walking out naked out of his trailer and firing a gun 6 times into, in a relatively populated area. Did he hurt anybody? No, he did not.
Thank goodness.
And he appears to be fine. But,
he was very recently on
there
Free
was
Talk
no
Live.
There was no harm done, and one has to ask exactly what this looks like. I think communities need rules, and therefore I'm willing to say that communities need government. I am not willing to say, however, that government must be a top-down, hierarchical state that we inherit, that we simply cannot change. And I think that's the difference. A state is an organization that claims you body and land.
Thank you, Andrew. I wish we had a better connection with you tonight, but I appreciate the call. Feel free to call another night. The number here is 603-283-6160. And it's a shame that people have to be uncomfortable in order to want to change things in life, but that's just the reality of, the human condition. If you're comfortable, most people don't want to.
Well, some people are comfortable with more government. This is why we have homeowners associations. Now, homeowners association is a It is a private form of governance. However, the distinction is from, say, a special autonomous zone is that you can't create more freedom. So you can't open a homeowners association where in whatever town you're in and nullify the laws of the town, the state, the county, or the U.S. federal government. All you can do is add more on. And some people want that. Some people want every house to be beige. Some people want only the American flag to fly out on flagpoles. Some people want all commercial vehicles to not be in driveways. And they must be
Those people, please don't move to New Hampshire. Just stay right where you are. If you're in New Hampshire, go ahead and leave. There are places like Massachusetts and Vermont that
If you want warmer weather,
you.
I recommend Longboat Key.
All right, let's go to David in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, David.
Yeah, I'm a little bit puzzled by your criteria that you're looking for. Oh, and first let me say one thing haven't heard anybody mention is the flight from Honduras and back and forth to the States is jet lag free as compared to when you go east-west.
Yeah.
So that would be, and it's also
it's Central Time
Zone. Relatively short flight.
From Miami.
Yep.
Right,
That's true. That's true.
It's a 3-hour hop to Roatan, which is the island off Honduras. It's 3-hour hop.
What is it to Saipan from just the West Coast?
Well, I can tell you that right now it's more difficult than it has been. It was 15 hours for me from Boston to Hong Kong, and an additional 3 hours from Hong Kong. I stayed in Hong Kong for some mini amount of days to cover the protests.
Right.
Fat lot of good that did. I tried. People in Hong Kong. I love you.
So anyway,
David, go ahead.
Like I said, I was puzzled by your criteria because it seems like you're overlooking some various things, and I hear you discuss. So what are your prime criteria for selecting where you want to be?
Are you asking Mark
or Ian?
Any of you.
I want to be in the place that has the best chance at being free. Already is one of the most free and has a good chance at becoming more free.
I would say that.
Okay, but what right? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We got 1 minute, so I want to answer the question. I want a place that can be economically free. And by economically free, I mean that you can start a business, that you are relatively free of regulation, relatively free of taxation. You will not be free of taxation, ladies and gentlemen. It is not possible. It hasn't existed in human history, and it's just not going to. But you have the ability to sort of do what you want from an economic standpoint, so long as you don't harm other people. Because if you want to have prostitutes and smoke weed and gamble, Vegas is there.
New Hampshire is to answer further your question, David, because I heard what you were asking. New Hampshire is the #1 most economically free place in North America. I believe it's the Heritage Foundation that found that. So it's a great starting point, and we've got the largest migration of liberty-loving people from anywhere on the planet that are coming here and have come here and are still coming here, and there's no better chance than New Hampshire, in my opinion. Now, maybe Saipan will be a better deal. We'll see. I've got my eyes on that one. See you tomorrow night.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better, too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
The latest episode of Declare Your Independence with Ernest Hancock is next after the news on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Honoring those lost in the pandemic, I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Biden tonight addressing the nation as the U.S. passes 500,000 deaths from COVID-19, calling the figure grim, but urging Americans to remember those who've died and those left behind.
While we've been fighting this pandemic for so long, we have to resist becoming numb to the sorrow. We have to resist viewing each life as a statistic or a blur or on the news. We must do so to honor the dead.
The president also urging Americans to remain vigilant and do everything possible to protect themselves and their families from coronavirus. He says everyone should socially distance, wear a mask, and get vaccinated when eligible. Merrick Garland, President Biden's nominee for Attorney General, telling a Senate committee today he would combat extremist violence, including last month's deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol. Garland assured lawmakers his Justice Department would remain politically independent. The Biden administration is introducing reforms to the Paycheck Protection Program.
Mom and pop shops will be able to apply for forgivable loans this week without competition from larger businesses. The Biden administration is giving companies with fewer than 20 employees a special 2-week period to sign up for the loans through the Paycheck Protection Program. The Small Business Administration is also setting aside $1 billion for business owners with no employees, such as beauticians and home contractors. The program came under scrutiny last year when small businesses had trouble accessing the loans.
Fox's Rachel Sutherland in Washington. The Supreme Court today ruling Manhattan prosecutors could move forward with efforts to obtain former President Trump's financial records for an ongoing investigation. The former president blasting the High Court's ruling, saying he would continue fighting what he calls a fishing expedition. America is listening to Fox News.
I don't know who needs to hear this, but here you go. You deserve to feel better than you do today. And you can with Headspace. They make meditation simple. Headspace is the one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research and can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. Go to headspace.com/Fox for a free 1-month trial. This is the best deal offered right now. Headspace.com/Fox.
Lawmakers in Virginia have approved a measure repealing the death penalty in the state.
The state legislature, with a majority of Democrats, got the bill through, making the case that capital punishment has not been applied fairly over the years. They argue people of color, those who are poor, or mentally ill are executed most often. Republicans said the nature of many crimes are so violent, those convicted of them deserve to be put to death. Since capital punishment was revived in the mid-70s, only Texas has executed more people than Virginia. 22 states have ended the death penalty in recent years. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
3 rockets were fired into Baghdad's heavily fortified green zone today without causing any casualties. Security officials say the U.S. Embassy was the target. At least 1 rocket fell within the vast U.S. Embassy complex perimeter. The green zone houses foreign embassies and is the seat of Iraq's government. The country could be getting closer to gaining access to another coronavirus vaccine later this week.
A Food and Drug Administration advisory committee will meet Thursday to vote on whether the government agency should authorize Johnson & Johnson's experimental COVID-19 vaccine. Though the FDA is not required to follow the advice of the committee, it often does. The panel is made up of independent medical experts who discuss and then vote on whether the benefits outweigh the risks. Authorization of
Free Talk Live.
I actually tried to delete my own Facebook. It only lasted 2 days. I couldn't get off it. It was tough. They won't delete it. They want you to come back. They know you're going to come back because it's like a drug. They know you're coming back for it. They're crazy like that.
Some people I went to grad school with, they would give their password to somebody else and tell them to change it so they couldn't log it back on and give it to them after finals were over.
My problem is my password is after my dog's name, Buster, so I actually name all my passwords that.
So what's your
Right, what I'm saying is...
But what's your username?
Well, he's my little bub.
Okay, but you could give someone...
He's very nice.
Okay, so
everybody loves Buster.
I just want to say thank you for redeeming this.
You might
This
want to
is
go
great.
change all your passwords
Yeah,
now.
she's suggesting
well, it's not just Buster. I use capital letters and numbers.
Okay, but...
Great call, man. Thanks for making it. I appreciate it.
I hope that was fake.
Thank God. Of course it was. It was hilarious.
What are you talking about?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Onion Weekend Review. Poets across the nation issued a statement Thursday announcing that shadows, inky sharp as the raven's beak, meet the clouds like dusty charcoal on an ashen brow. Citing the ageless gloom of morning and a weary sun, its astroluminescence wrapped in arid gauze, the report noted that doubt lingers in the frail minutes of a young dawn.
For what is the sound of hope? For what is life's moment of fulfillment? The supple lie of spring prolongs the inquisition. Father! Father! Do you not sense the dread of autumn's looming song danced in trembling half-step? 1, 2, 1, 2.
The poets later added, womb, womb, womb. And in local news, a sad sack is bullied by an area goose. In other news, a photographer specializes in those pictures where lights going by really fast look like lines. An entree is apparently the kind you squeeze lime over, and employees finally get that break room bathtub they wanted.
This is the Onion News Network.
And now, live from the studios of Freedom's Phoenix, Ernest Hancock.
Believe me when I say we have a difficult time ahead of us. But if we are to be prepared for it, we must first shed our fear of it. I stand here without fear because I remember that I am here not because of the path that lies before me, but because of the path that lies behind me. I remember that for 100 years we have fought these machines. And after a century of war, I remember that which matters most. We are still here! Today, let us make them remember. We are not afraid! Yeah! Yeah! The fear. Here and declare your independence of me, Ernest Hancock, here in Tunipa. We're going to be moving around here in the next week. We got, stuff to do. All right, it's going to be me and you today. I know there might be a guest come in, last Donna, do something, but it's going to be me and you. And we're going to get y'all updated on things because we may take a little bit of break. We might do probably tomorrow and maybe a little Thursday just so we can get some Trump report, at least a podcast in because Frank will blow up if we don't do tyranny report. Call it tyranny report. We're going to need that. Yep. Yep. So what we're going to do is, keep up with, because Frank will. So, whatever. Last thing I got to do is like taking a day off and getting to yell at Frank. And everybody thinks, Donna goes, it's so unprofessional. You're always yelling at him. And I'm going, yeah, I think so. And the reason is that I get a lot of complaints from regular listeners. Of course, everybody listens. All right. I explain it like this. There was a movie called Private Parts by Howard Stern. It was about Howard Stern's rise up, and he played himself, and it was pretty funny, and but it was really sweet too. It was almost like a love story, between he and his wife and kind of what he did and why and how and so on. The one thing that I remember in that whole thing, you want to know how the media works and why and ratings and all that kind of stuff. Private Parts, Howard Stern's story, how he came from a little nothing to all of a sudden interplanetary. And a lot of it is, shock jock crap. But it was funny when he went from Terran radio to satellite. Was it XM or something? When he did that, you're in the movie theater, and they had all of a sudden you're looking at a star field. It was a commercial for it. In a star field, and it's pretty night sky, and all of a sudden, it kind of, morphs into the outline of a penis. Testicles and a penis, and then boom, it shot a load across the sky. Boom, the Howard Stern shot. I go, that was so him. It was funnier than hell. I never forgot that. And I go, yep, Howard Stern satellite space of he's, got splooged all over the sky, something like that. So I'm all right, fine. But when we saw it, there was, when he first went to New York, there were a lot of the traditional people that were there in the marketing business that, how do we sell this guy? And I can't believe he's still on here. We hate him over at AA Beetle C. Okay? WA Beetle C used to be back in, of course, 60s and 70s and so on. But and then you had to say it WABC. So out of New York, and his ratings were through the roof. And they were like, all of a sudden, they like him now, But a lot of the guys that were trying to get him fired and so on and everything, and he called them, I don't know, he called this one guy pig vomit or something, pig vomit, it's just, so they loved him then. And they looked at it, they couldn't believe it. And they're going, why? Why didn't he go, well, so many of the people, half the people, because they like him and it's whatever. And I go, but he's got over half of the people listen to him that hate him. And they go, why? And they go, because they stay tuned to see what he'll say next. So they can hate him some more. It's just, so this is where we're going in media. I can see what's going to happen. It's getting to where, man, if you're listening to him, so you can, share with your friend, how much you can hate him. And that's what you get so much, I see, coming across. And even we put on, Freedom's Phoenix is some that I put up stories. We'll go over it here in a little bit in the next segment. But as we go over the stories, and why did you put that up? Who gives a crap what the Washington Post says? Who cares what USA Today is doing? What are MSNBC? I don't give a crap what that. Yeah. So you can hate them, you can share it with your friends so you can hate them some more. They got, look how many clicks we got. Yeah. So you can share it. How much they hate you. And as time goes on, okay, we get the story and everything, then you're nothing. And they don't understand it. They can't. They're the architect in the Matrix. They can't understand it. They'll go, wow, we got a bunch of support. We got a lot of hits on this one article. We told them how ruled they're going to be and the tyranny of the planet of the surveillance. And they love it. They're not going to have anything, and they're going to love it. Okay, they can't read the tea leaves, man. They think, look, there's leaves. There's lots of leaves. We're the king of leaves, of tea leaves. Everybody loves what we're. No, they're going, do you see these tea leaves? Everybody take a look at these tea leaves. Oh, my God. That's where we're at. I'm feeling pretty good. We're going to go ahead today, and we'll go over news and just yak it and so on. I don't get to do this, often. I might get an hour and everything, but a 3-hour day of just Erne, damn. Oh, wow, will he do? So we're going to go all stern on you in a family-friendly way. And I'm going to go ahead and share a lot of what's been going on behind the scenes and what we're doing and why. And, our whole lives building up to and kind of, what we plan for the next, at least the rest of this year. Because 2021 is the Phoenix time. It's the ashes of Lady Liberty's torch, and the Phoenix is about ready to explode and go, hello. And that's going to be just general public opinion. I mean, you can see it. It won't happen all at once, but it will happen overnight. And they're doing their overnight thing, and it's a counter. It's yin and yang, swinging of the pendulum, but they can't. They and those that won't leave us alone, they can't. They don't have the perspective. They don't have the empathy, the compassion, the understanding, the relationships, the desires, the wants, the future. They can't see it. They can't. See, this is what I'm starting to realize as you get older and you go through. You go, what the hell? Are they blind? Yes. Those are. They are. And they think, yeah, well, and we don't care what they're going to do that, and we'll smack them down. We'll use some psyop here, and we'll psyop there, and we'll, public execution. Yeah, go watch Game of Thrones. Bob and I are up. There's first part, second part, and part 1 and 2 of the third part, which means there's 4 parts. Okay, so we're going, man, if this doesn't follow, a trend, and that was what made it popular. And there's a lot of dystopian things like that, and they look at some aspect of what power does and how it maintains the power and how it gets to become so powerful on the backs of all the slaves, and the reason they think they can. And I tell you, what's coming is it's going to be interesting. It's going to be robots making robots. Then what? So it always comes down to it'll be Skynet, and we crush the means of production for them, oppressing. It always happens sooner or later. You rise up when the effort becomes worth it. When does that happen? I don't know, but it always happens unless they change humanity. Got a shot for you when we come back.
Are you feeling confused about the current economic reports that dominate the headlines? Not sure if this is a good time to buy or sell your home, or feel like the process can be